All right, we should start with introductions. I'm Bob Turek. I'm from Palermo. And last meeting, I got elected to be the chair of this committee.
I'm
And
Tammy Higgins, I'm from Winterport Council.
Elizabeth Lenhart, Stockton Springs.
Timothy Parker Community.
Pounding Waldo.
Robin Tarantino, Lincolnville.
Good morning, everyone. Morning.
Oh,
Mary's coming around.
Mary's, there's been a Mary sighting. Oh, no. Sorry,
Oh, what is she?
I think it's a great.
Adler, Sherpa.
Morning.
You were a great job on that. On everything.
Okay.
You're all right.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Don't be fooled, those aren't just crutches, those are weapons. Don't screw with that later.
I'm just gonna say, clearly you've met Mary.
Thank you
Just
so
start.
much.
I'll see you at 3.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
I leave her in your capable hands.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
So Mary, we started the meeting, we had introductions. This is Mary from Belfast.
Hi. And I haven't met you before.
Her from Waldo.
Oh, okay, I know you by name. Actually, I was in your house once.
Okay.
I think one of the first things we should do is everybody had a chance to look at the minutes.
Yes,
So do we approve the minutes?
They are your
Okay.
minutes.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
so moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Yeah,
I have to abstain.
fine. So, so that's how many ever want to abstain?
Yeah.
The other thing I think we need to do is we added 2 people to to our committee that didn't come on through the normal process. So I would guess that the committee should also vote on adding her and adding Doug Thomas from Montville.
Yes.
So I'll entertain a motion to add these 2 people to our
So
committee.
moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any in favor? Well, go ahead.
All in
Question?
favor?
Oh, yeah, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So I guess now we're official, so the official committee. So, let's go ahead and start with human resources then.
They've taken off the bench.
So budget 1021 is pretty basic. It's just my position. We moved a part-time position back over to the commissioners. It was just a temporary situation for 24. So that is now back into the commissioner's budget 2021 for the year 2025. And I think that we've done very well with being mindful of what we spent for this year and how we budgeted for next year. If you have any questions, definitely. I tried to capture everything in the backup paperwork.
So I did have a question. I was just a couple of questions. I was wondering that if you could tell me the story around the part-time and the professional services.
The part-time position.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one was just assigned to me during the temporary basis. So that originally was in the commissioner's line. So we put that back into the commissioner.
well, that's back in commissioner.
Yes, yeah, it's still here. It's just now falling under reports directly to the commissioners.
And professional services,
That went up.
went up quite a bit.
It did, Bob. If you remember last year, we were trying to figure out where I solved our payroll company professional fees were. They were sitting in the commissioner's budget for 2024. It had to come back over to payroll, which is under HR, and that's why the significant is, and that's like 17,500 that is taking up that. And that's the fees that they charge us for processing payroll, the HRIS, Human Resource Information System Program. We do payroll bi-weekly, and they file our taxes for us. They do quite a bit for us, as long as I set it up correctly. They do everything.
And
So
how many
that's the fee.
employees do we have?
We have right now, today, 95.
95.
Have 4 vacancies currently. So I always say we have 100 for headcount purposes and budgeting purposes, because we ebb and flow between 93 to 98.
And my other question was on legal counsel. Is that in addition to
It
the
is,
county attorney?
yeah.
And why,
We delineated between what the county does for legal purposes, for example, the sale of the Superior Court building, that is legal fees, and that fell under the commissioner's purview because HR had nothing to do with it.
right,
My legal fees is solely for employment attorney, and who will help me with negotiations, arbitrations, grievances, employment law questions.
Unions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could potentially, yeah, if it gets to arbitration, we have to call in the attorney to help me with that. And that's where that we sort of delineated between if it's sort of like county commissioners' decisions, or does it fall into payroll and HR? And we tried to pair that up. Because, for example, if one of the departments needed sheriff, let's say the sheriff needed to reach out, they had an employment type concern, they may collaborate with me, however, they may reach out to the employment attorney, Matt Terasevich with Bernstein Shore directly. But those would be still employment related. So it'll be an internal investigation they need guidance on, or me. So that's why we separate the two, so we can really see what is kind of personnel issues versus business.
and was that in, let's see, that was increased by how much this year? Oh, professional services. That increased by $14,000.
Yes.
Was that 14,000 in some other budget last year? Was that in the
Some of it
commissioner's
was in the
budget?
commissioner's budget last year, and we paired it off based on what we were using this year for legal fees. So we increased it because I have a couple of situations that are currently going on that I will not get resolved this year. And we have to have an attorney to do that, 2 of them to help us with that in 25. So I had to account for that.
Those were my questions. Anybody?
Those were my questions, so thank you.
All right. So then we vote on,
It's your meeting, so you
Okay.
can decide your rules.
so I'll entertain a motion to approve Department 1021 HR
As requested.
as requested for 101,560.45. A second.
So moved. That's it.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Carrie.
Nope.
No?
Yeah.
Now Carrie and Annette.
Carry on and that with employee
Oh,
benefit.
employee benefit. All right.
So benefits are broken up into 2 budgets. Oh, can I just start right in?
Sure.
Oh, right. So employee benefits are broken up into 2 budgets, 2025, and there's a section in the jail budget of 1050. And I have some backup so you can see where I got the numbers from. I can. They have it, but I just cleaned it up a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Back. Red, it's way in the
Oh,
back.
Bob, would you take-
Yeah, it's way in the back, red.
Thank you. Whoop. Thank you.
Okay. turn it off now.
Thank you.
So with the employee benefits, it primarily starts with the salaries. And so from there, I can generate numbers based on Social Security, Maine first contribution, workers' comp. So I started, well, thank you. So I hopefully, what you see off to the side
Thank you.
is the salaries that we pulled from each department's personnel sheet from the budget. And then you'll see the extension where I tried to capture the new, you'll see an increase here for the Maine Paid Family Leave Act. And the commissioners voted to split that cost with the employees. So the county, the employer, will pay 0.5%, and the employee will pay the other 0.5%. And I think I tried to depict that pretty accurately. And of course, the salaries is what they're submitted thus far. And do keep in mind, we had some vacancies and we're slowly filling them up. Like right now, I think I only have 4 vacancies I counted as of this morning. So I have 4.5. And then the workers' comp, which we have with Maine Municipal Association. And I'm in the process of renewing that agreement with them on workers' comp, and they do a payroll audit. I have to submit W-2s, job descriptions, salaries, payroll reports, and that's all based off from that. And then, as you see, I put in under the workers' comp rate, based on job description or job title, it determines what they charge us. So for example, the jail, anyone that is in law enforcement, they charge us 3.99 or 0.399. You'll see how they do that. And it's hard to capture on some of the workers' comp because if we have a vendor on site and doing work for us, we also have to provide W-9s or certificates of insurability that they have. So if we have that, and we also have to submit that to workers' comp, because if not, they will charge us a certain percentage and treat them like an employee. So I'm hoping that 2025, after being here for the full year of 2024, I was able to capture and track that using Carrie. Carrie tracks the W-9s and insurance of certificate of insurance, bill insurance with our vendors, but the employee piece I do. So we still had to add a little bit just as a safety net in case for some reason someone can't produce it, but Carrie works with them. Sends them to the Department of Labor. There's a website they can go to and try to download, inquire, research, submit, request.
But are they working as an employee or as a subcontractor? Or
Subcontractor.
So are you asking for an EIN number and all that stuff too?
Yes, I'm asking them for their W-9 to provide W-9, and I'm asking them to provide their workers' comp and their insurance as well. And if they can't produce that, then unfortunately, MMA says that they are treated as an employee and not as an independent contractor.
Right, but what about the EIN?
The EIN number is on the,
EIN or TIN?
it's on the W-9. So when we submit that, they provide that to us.
If they don't produce it, can't they sign a waiver?
No.
No, if they don't do the predetermination, if they're denied
Yeah.
through the state, then, and they can't provide us a W-9, then they're not an independent contractor.
Yeah, well, there was a time when they could do the predetermination with the like a waiver that they.
Oh, yes,
They-
they can file the predetermination, but if the state denies it, then they're the, and
So you go through that process first.
yes, I asked all of our vendors to submit that documentation.
Okay.
I have a question. So this worksheet that you handed out is showing the workers' comp rate for the different departments
Correct.
for salaries, and you're coming up with the workers' comp premium based on salaries. And then, which was the 112, right?
Correct.
And the 88 you came up with based on looking at prior year budget?
So the 88 I came up with it down under the jail, I have to add into the jail. So I separated them because they have a line in their budget for workers' comp as well. So we share the cost with the jail budget, 1050. So
And they've got $1.3 million as the payroll in the jail?
Yes, so if you go to the budget for the 1050,
Yeah.
and you go to the personal lines. So down at the bottom, personnel services total, 1.389, and I took out the contract employees because it was included in their lines.
Personal services total on what I'm looking at says 1.673.
I come around and yeah, because that's sorry to say. Base it off with what I had, forget what you did the second, say what I had.
Oh. The personal services total, I realize there's all these other things that aren't
Mhm,
wages, but so.
So this is the thing. But I still don't have the same page you have.
This one, this one, this one, this one. And this one.
So the clothing allowance, so if that's how, then they minus social security deduction of 20,000, so it's already coming from the 19.
1.389.
So this zero, and Carrie, you have to speak to 0223 on that, why they.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
and so the 1.389 is the 1.3 here, okay. So. So the 88,000 is half of the 112 plus the 51
Correct.
sheet you gave us.
So in the past, they've split that 50-50.
Okay,
And I'm working on the renewal for the workers' comp right now, so until I send them all the documentations and then they get back to me with the new rates and the cost for 2025, which I usually don't get until the end of November. So I was kind of basing it off salary, what I knew, and they already give me the what they'll charge us per classification. So I tried to get as close as I could.
and is this the same methodology that you used in the last couple of years?
I wasn't involved in this line for last year. I don't know that to be the case. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
That's okay, because I was just not knowing how the number came up when I was looking at the actuals.
Yeah.
From 2023 and 2024. They seem to be kind of significantly lower. Like, in 2023, the actual was 60,000 and in 2024 it was 73,000. And year to date 2020, well, when I say 2024, I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
it's that LY for the total 73,000 2023, year to date is 53 for 2024. I was just wondering if we couldn't just level it at the 80,000 instead of. I mean, it just seems like we're
Bob, the workman's comp.
We can,
yeah.
So one thing, please keep in mind is workers' comp, as much as we try hard to keep that number close. When we submit that audit report with MMA, they come back and they tell us,
Right.
hey, we want an additional X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And this past year, they asked us for, off the top of my head, I think it was around an additional $25,000 above and beyond what
We budgeted.
we budgeted.
But wouldn't that be in that actual then from last year?
The actual, that's on the,
That's on our,
Later.
you're talking
it
about.
does come
2023
later,
actual?
yes.
Yeah, we could look at it that way. Like we expended last year for 2023, the jail is 36,000. And the other line here, the actual was 73. So that's like 110,000.
And that actually, if you're looking, what, are you looking at the jail budget?
Well, I was looking
Or
at the
both.
two of them
So
together.
keep in mind that actual is as of August, it's not current.
No, I'm talking about the 2023, full year
No.
2023 was 110 between the two cost centers. And the year
So-
to date is 52 plus.
You were down in
That
Philly.
is-
You had a
We're
lot
down,
of,
there were a lot of
last year, you
vacancies.
had a lot of vacancies in both places.
when we designed this budget for 25, I had 9 vacancies. With the years that you were referencing, like when I came in, we filled 8 positions in 2024. And that was vacated at the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023. And then the salaries were much lower. So that's the key here. I think it's to kind of focus on, because in July of 2023, the sheriff department came to the commissioners, advocated for a salary change, and that significantly changed the salary line for workers' comp. So when we submitted the audit and they say, hey, you just spent an additional, I don't know what the figure was because I wasn't involved in that part of it, 600,000, then they're going to charge us that rate, and especially law enforcement at 3.99 compared to office support staff, which is a much lower percentage.
Yep.
So we tried to take actuals, and I do have, I left it on my desk if you wanted to. For substantiating my Excel sheet, I did print off the invoices for municipal, so you could see the breakdown to correlate to where I was getting those percentages. And so, but the personnel really is driven for the workers' comp.
Okay, and we're more at full employment.
We're 4.5 shy of the full complement.
Okay, and
And that's one, if I can share with you. Okay, if that's interesting. So I have one victim witness advocate that's vacant, that is part of the county commissioner's department. Dispatch is comm center. We have one deputy and position that's vacant. And I have one, but I know what I was meant by it. I have one correctional officer. I was like, hey, I didn't know. And I have the one part-time position that is vacant that we're looking to fill, and got approval to post that Thursday. So I have 4.5. So,
And you've
and
got 2 or 3 higher salary ones in there.
yes, yes. And in those other 4, 5 positions I filled, some of those folks came in with huge amounts of experience, so they compensated that. So we're kind of, so when we budgeted, we did for those 9 positions, we did budget on the higher end, like health insurance, workers' comp.
okay,
So we tried to make sure we weren't, but I think I really do feel pretty confident. I'm about as close as I can possibly get to tightening it up. So you see that fluctuation in cost from 23 to 24, but I feel pretty confident. I printed off payroll reports too for you folks to see from our iSolve, where it will give you the individual, and you see their salaries, but I thought to help the Excel sheet correlated. If you went through each department in their personnel line, you could see those figures that I moved them plugged in and calculated. Okay. Yeah.
As a county, do we file a lot of workman comps claims?
Not typically. We've had a couple of situations in 2024, does hit our experience level. I do anticipate, because of the type of claims that it resulted in a surgery, for example, not going through the here at the county, what the domino effect of something like that happens with workers' comp. I'm not sure what to expect on that. But I would expect, they have explained to me that my experience rate will change if we have a certain amount of workers' comp. But so I did have a couple lost time, they call it lost time claims, where they had to issue payments, and they do have a case now that resulted in a surgery. But the good thing is on this is that they've been very short in nature, meaning the employees had to go out on work. They may have been out for 2 weeks, and the surgery, they had the surgery and they've come back to work within a 2 week. I mean, the employees are very eager to get back to work, which is really good. And we're so good about light duty. Just to share with you, because I get all, get me started, I was trying to kind of rein it in, but I work with all the department heads about light duty too, because the sooner I can get someone back to work, the better it helps us with their experience.
Yep.
Right? So I do try to work with the departments.
And as far as the health insurance, I know we're self-insured. That's always kind of a contentious item, I think.
Yes.
Could you
Yes.
kind of give us a little update on the health insurance?
Yes. And I was, so Carrie and I keep track of it in an Excel sheet, and I want to go to a whiteboard because I'm so used to writing this all down, but in any case, bear with me. So with the health plan, again, it's based on employees and what plan they take. So we have currently 100 total members, meaning not just employees, but their kids, their families, about 158 covered participants on our plan. And of that, that could be employee only. It could be employee spouse, domestic partner, employee child, employee family, okay? So when they calculate and how much we charge the employee and how much they charge to the county, they come up with what we call a monthly billing package, what Meritain Charge says to us. And that is costing the county as a whole roughly $135,000 a month. And that includes the jail and the county employees and family members. So when we take that to come up with this budget, we had to start with, the 9 vacancies, which was an unknown. So we calculated it at the highest of the family rate and multiplied it by 12, and then came up with what we feel our total cost is. And for 2025, we anticipate that to go up because not only are they saying, Meritain telling me that, hey, you gotta pay me $135,000 a month, but because we are self-insured, they send us the weekly check register, which has been unbelievably high the first half of this year. So we have already spent more than what we have budgeted for and how much that they say that our cost will be. So because of that, it kicks into our stop loss insurance, which we pay. I called stop losses insurance on our insurance. So we do kick into that with some of the high costs of some of the claims that have been submitted. So that's how I come up with that. So if you look at what we budgeted for, and I increased it by 300,000, in which I shared with the jail, so that's why you see, but I really did, it goes down to an increase of 300,000 is because we looked at our monthly billing packet that they give us at 135,000. Then we looked at our check register and see that we have to pay those differences regardless.
Okay.
So we came up with.
Are we comfortable that self-insuring is the best way to go still?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, yes. And why I say that is that because of some of the situations that have required Meritain to pay higher premiums, it does kick into our stop loss. And do remember that stop loss, and this is not, I'm going to share it because we can't budget on that because it depends on our claim. So because of our stop loss, if we have a particular situation that kicks into the stop loss, they will give us a certain amount of money. It's an aggregate calculation that they give. They don't give me how they calculate that, but it's experience. It depends on how much the claims cost, depends on if it goes over 120,000 for the employee or the member that we're covering. Once it kicks over 120,000, we pay those all up front first, the county does. Then it kicks into our stop loss insurance. They process the claim and they pay it, this insurance. And if we reach a certain amount of money, they will kind of give us a refund on that because they paid that, it fell into our insurance. And so back, I know several months ago, they gave us a check saying, hey, Waldo County, you met the aggregate dollar amount in which kicked into the stop loss, and we're going to give you some of the money you've paid already on those claims. See, we've already paid them and they're just reimbursing us because they were so high, it kicked into the stop loss. So I still feel that the plan is being self-insured is still kind of a good deal because we get discounts. They constantly looking for ways to save money on our prescriptions.
Tim?
Us being self-insured this is gonna sound very convoluted as a question. So don't take it the wrong way, Gary, because I know that you already do this. Is there things that we can be doing as a county to help reduce the risk on the other end of it to then reduce the cost? Are we doing all those? Because it's great that we're having conversations about getting employees back to work and having that be a good environment. But what are we doing to stop or reduce risk from them getting hurt in the first part?
Good question, Tim, because currently right now in preparation for 2025 premiums, we try to sit down, we work with Malcolm, call him by name, is our agent, our administrator, and we say, hey, Malcolm, what can we do differently? He also works with other counties that are self-insured and employers. So he's constantly looking at ways to how can it save money? What can we cut back on? Can we, for example, can we say if you have a spouse on our plan and they are eligible to have insurance with their employer, can we say to the employee, your spouse needs to be covered with their employer? So we've asked that question. They're researching it. Some of our caps on, say, therapy. Can we cap some of that? Can we increase the deductible for emergency ER rooms? So we are. With Commissioner Fowler's assistance, she has been 100% engaged in email communications, conversations with Malcolm on how we can save money looking forward. And the current premiums right now, we've looked at other counties and we've been talking to other employers on what they charge employees for their bi-weekly or weekly premium. And last year we went up 12% on the employees' premiums because our costs, of course, went up.
What is the
Contract-
split? What's the split?
It's 85-15. So we charge the employee 15%. And last year we went up 12% of the base, but they paid 15% of the cost.
Still a good deal. for-
Oh,
It's
huge.
extraordinary.
It's,
It truly is. And
and any other company would give us for sure.
anywhere else
Yeah. I have a
around.
print of that if you're interested in that. I didn't.
No, I think one thing that I had noticed out in Unity was that a lot of people would pay attention to the Zooms. And they would watch us all sit down and talk about numbers, but we never would really talk about reducing risk.
Yeah.
Because if you reduce risk, naturally, the numbers will come down anyways.
So the reducing of risk, we have the YMCA office, the sheriff's department, anyone that's in law enforcement. So you got the jail employees, you got the anyone that's classified as law enforcement, could be dispatch, it could be, so they employee only gets free membership to the gym.
Right.
And then they just pay the difference for the family plan. So we offer that as an incentive. We offer, we have a wellness committee that Commissioner Johnson spearheads, and we're looking at ways to incentivize employees, encourage them to get out. We offer, just as a funny, right now, I call it a funny, because it's fun for me to do, is last year we did a wellness bag and we give, it was water, tissues, hand sanitizer, honey, because that's and we did a trivia thing and we put, if you can answer all these healthy trivia questions, the name will go into a drawing for a gift card. We encourage them, of course, to walk at lunchtime. So a lot of things we are very much doing proactive. And I have myself researched with other employers, are there incentivizing them that if you do to, I'm used to in my past, they would give you a premium credit, a biweekly premium credit if you went and checked off all these values. It was voluntary because we can't, it's against the law to make them do it. But we offered them, hey, save 5% on your biweekly premiums if you go and have a physical, if you go and have your blood work done, see a dentist. And they took it, they got 5%, and that sometimes equated to $500 saving. So my family was all over that, incentivizing them that way. So we're looking at so many different things to incentivize employees to help take care of themselves. We're very proactive with our safety committee about keeping employees safe and keeping our workers' comp down, which again, that domino effect of working with workers' comp and bringing them back and keeping them working also eventually will domino into a savings and health claim, because once they're released from workers' comp, if they have any issues, then they've signed off or it closed, it falls under our health plan. So we really try to be proactive with that.
Robin?
Yeah, so I had two questions. One is, if we are under budget on the health insurance in a given year, does that, just clarification, is that difference what goes into the reserve, the oh, I know it's in here somewhere, I'm looking at the wrong thing. The health, remember, we talked about the reserve last year, the Waldo County Health line of the reserve accounts.
So funding it, if we go below, and it does have to go to, Carrie can explain, but I call it, they have to go to the TAN note, is why we have the TAN interest, and then the commissions have to come up with a way to draw funds to pay.
No, I think you misunderstood.
Oh, okay.
me.
So the health.
No,
fund-
I was saying if our actual for the year ends up less than what we had budgeted,
Oh, I see, I'm sorry.
Does
Rob,
that-
I meant the other way.
It stays
Yeah,
all in the
earmarked.
health line.
it does.
It stays all in the
does.
health line.
So
Yes.
that does go to increase the reserve account.
So the health line on there
Fund.
is not a reserve. It's actually its own separate account. So all of the check registers, everything comes out of that health fund. The health fund is a complete separate account of its own. And then we every month make a check to the health fund for those monthly premiums.
I guess I'm
I
still
think-
misunderstanding. I thought the reserve fund was for like catastrophic stuff. It gave us something to draw from
There's like an
So we
emergency.
should
thing.
go
Right.
to-
Yeah.
when we were talking about this last year. In the reserve funds.
Yeah, so if
You
you
know,
go to
that like we've got 500.
2045.
Sorry. What number did you say?
Oh, are you in the, under the budget 2045 reserve account, Robin?
I'm looking at the reserve accounts, right? It doesn't have a number on it.
Is that
It says
from
Waldo
last year?
County Health. Yes, this is from last year.
Oh, okay. So you'll probably see county savings on there. You see tan. Can I come over and see what you're looking at?
That is what I'm talking about. Right. The Waldo County.
Oh.
Health.
So it does say reserves, but this is not a reserve. This is the actual health account. This is a savings account. This is a check. These,
Okay,
okay? These
These are
This is
from last
not.
year.
These are from
yeah,
last year
these
that
are the
she's
ones
looking
from
at.
last year.
This is not an actual reserve account, and I can separate the reserves if you want
Okay,
from what the actual accounts are.
well, I
But
saw
anything
these as
that-
just like restricted funds as opposed to unrestricted, but no.
This would be restricted
Right.
because it's specifically for health. So anything that goes into health, comes out of health, stays into health. We keep it all separate.
What goes into health, I guess is my question.
What goes into it, our monthly premiums or check registers come out of it.
Oh, okay.
If there's stop loss, that goes into the health fund. If we have to use a TAN.
So
help
that's a
fund
really
that.
a balancing account. That's a.
It is.
It's an in and
It's an in and out account.
Okay,
But this is all for personnel, right? This isn't for anybody else that's affected?
No.
Okay,
Like the
good.
jail is now
Okay.
a different line for.
No,
paying.
I'm talking, it's more than just a jail, like I'm talking about like when any of our employees are coming in contact when they're providing services. And situation happens, that the insurance part of it's a different, completely different line item, right? Like let's say. A patrolman's responding to a scene, accidentally, runs into a vehicle or something.
that's a workers'.
Oh, that's separate.
No,
That's separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Do we have any more
I do have
questions?
one
on
more
this?
question.
Go
I
ahead.
don't see a health insurance line in the jail.
Yeah, it is.
Where?
It would be number 3902.
Oh, it's a different number? Yeah.
Yes,
employee
yeah, because
medical.
remember, your jail is a complete separate animal.
Yeah, but I still would have expected it to be
Agreed.
called health insurance.
No, I agree, but I
Okay.
see why, and I
Okay.
was trying to keep it
Employee
separate.
medical.
Okay. Are there,
Robin, I remember thinking the same thing when I started.
are there any other questions from the committee?
Gotcha.
All right. Then they have a motion.
Motion to accept the budget as presented.
Seconded.
It's good hearing.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. So that's for both. Let's just make sure we get this squared away.
Well,
You just did 2025.
2025
Yes.
for $2,413,060.
yes.
Yeah. All right, now what about the jail part?
Well, that's just that one line.
That's just one.
It's a one line.
I
Well-
multiple, Robin, just to clarify, the benefit line that I budget for and under the jail is the employee medical, FICA, the life insurance,
Right.
which is through Maine PERS. I do we're self-funded for unemployment, but then I also do workers' comp and the paid family, named paid family, that's what it's separated.
So I guess we'll approve that when we do the jail. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Great. Welcome, Dale.
Oh, this is for, 10, and I haven't changed the info. I apologize, I'll go over why.
There's something else.
Okay, thanks.
If you don't mind, if you.
I've got some for you. Also.
Here, put these on the.
Come on,
the
This
empty
is mine.
spots.
I'm sorry. No, but this other one is fair.
You want
We
to
do
put
have
that,
this, right?
put one on the empty spot then. With-
Oh, and you punched holes too.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm all about preparedness.
Well done.
Are we replacing the whole everything? Is that what this is? Replacing everything?
Yes.
Mary, I wouldn't because the format is different, but Dale just is way more prepared.
So you're up by $870.
Well, the total budget is up 6,343. If you look at.
Yeah.
Salaries.
But I mean, between this budget and the one you requested before,
Well, yes, it's up $870 from what the one I requested before.
Okay.
And I'll get down through I'll go line by line. Sure. So the first thing, of course, is salaries. The director's salary and the deputy's salary is just the 3% COLA that was put out for the year. The planner's salary is 3% plus 2 extra hours. That is my GIS planner. And the GIS planner has been doing a lot of work to help out the IT department and the RCC on the new mapping program for the GIS mapping for the dispatching center. He kept track of his extra hours he's doing dedicating just for that. It's about 4 hours a week. I only actually asked for 2 hours extra. So we're looking to increase him from 24 hours a week to 26 hours a week. He doesn't get any benefits because he's part-time. So it doesn't add to medical like that issue. You don't get any of that. So. And I can go over what some of the stuff he does if you need to know that, but he does all our GIS mapping and planning and also how do you map plans and. We have 2 full-time and 1 part-time. County employee. Then travel and gas, we're looking for the same amount. The $2,500. We're actually going to be. What I typically do is I have a almost 400-gallon tank trailer that we fill up. We keep it throughout the winter in case we have a power outage. We've got access to fuel if we get stations are down. And then in the spring, I start using that up in our vehicles. And by fall, it's empty, which is now empty. And we fill it up again. I actually don't have enough money in my current budget to fill it up again. We'll fill it up as much as we can. But all of the fuel line will be used, either operating vehicles or refilling that tank. Right now, I think it looks like it might be down about $1,000 left over. But 400-gallon tank at $3 a gallon is 1,200 gallons. So I won't have enough to actually fill it back up again this year. Let's see. Any questions on the travel?
do you have, well, I was just thinking about a gas tank that's not all the way full. Do you have problems with condensation and water and things
Well,
like that? Or
we
is
put
it,
stabilizer in it. We put the marine grade stabilizer in. It's better than what you're getting at the auto parts store. Usually we pick it up at the marine.
so you don't have a problem with that?
We haven't
And
had any problems.
how do you keep it fresh then? So do you use it?
So we use it. So
as you
I
go
fill it
throughout
up
the year?
in the fall, and then in the spring, after we've gone through the winter, then we start using it in our vehicles.
Okay,
And usually within 3 or 4 months, we use it up. And then in the next fall, we fill it back up again. It gives us a reservoir of fuel in case the gas stations are closed or we operate when everything else isn't.
sure.
During disaster. And it's for our gasoline generators and it's for our trucks and so. But so that's the travel and gas line. That's not just gas. I mean, if we have any type of travel cost, it would come out of here. Most of the time, I would say probably 90% of the budget is gasoline for the vehicles. It's not. We don't usually do like lodging and all that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
We don't go anywhere.
Could you just tell me again how much you're short to fill the tank now?
It'll probably be about a couple hundred gallons, which is probably around $600 or $700.
Thank you.
Because we're also still, what I got left of money is still being used to pay for fuel for the vehicle, so. But I sometimes have other ways of thinking of stuff. Sometimes I use other money outside the county to help with that.
Thank you.
Two questions.
I'm waiting for the chair to.
Oh, go ahead. I don't know who had their hand up first.
TJ.
All right, Tim.
So the way I read it is that majority of your increase is coming from employees.
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, the non-salary portion of my budget is actually, even with what I'm asking extra, it's still down $192.
Right.
Yeah. So the increase is because of salary. But,
Tammy?
but then,
Unless,
do you want to go over the other stuff or?
well, Tammy had a
Like, for
question
example,
too.
the increase that's a surprise increase. I can go over this.
Yeah, I want to know about that before we get
Yeah.
finished.
There's a letter.
The only, the only question, well, not the only one, but for now, the only question I have is if you're going to run short on, then that's on that travel line.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna run short on filling the vehicle, how come you still only budgeted the same amount?
Last year, I did a lot of traveling because I was doing all the construction, managing all the construction work for the county. And when I was down in Belfast, I was traveling all the time out to Swanville and back. And then when I moved up to Swanville, I was coming back all the time to do work at Deeds and the district attorney's office. That's done. We finished in August with everything. I'm waiting for one last bill to clear the bank and all that's done. So I'm traveling a lot less.
So shouldn't that travel have come out of the ARPA funds or
We
whatever?
took some of it out of the ARPA
Did
funds.
you?
But the ARPA funds are getting low. So we didn't try dipping into it again. But we'll make do with what we're gonna do.
So go ahead. Oh, Tim?
My question is actually for the commissioners. Have we started to, because I haven't seen it yet. Have we started to see the offset from the electrical yet?
From the solar, you
Yeah.
mean? I believe, yes, we
Yes.
have.
Right now, especially in the summertime.
When the sun's out.
Yeah, when we have more hours of sun and everything else, but right now, we're paying the electricity for the most part for the EMA office.
Yeah.
Plus, the back storage buildings, that's on that too.
Right.
We've been paying the electric bill on this building. The electric bill on one of the tower sites, an electric bill on the Buck Extension. Now, there's still some, because even you can have as much electricity as you want generated, they still charge you a little connection fee, basically. But it isn't a lot less. Just to put an example for facilities of what we've done. When I was in the basement of the jail,
I remember.
our facility costs were $20,000 a year. This was back 18 years ago. When we built the new sheriff's office and moved over there, our facility costs dropped to $10,000. And our facility costs this past year were around $4,000.
While everything's increasing.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But our electric bill is down, our heating bill is down, we're burning wood.
I kind of already knew the answer, but I think that it's really important that we paint the picture for the public.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to help you sell your product.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing is we've also got solar panels on the sheriff's office. I haven't seen that because I haven't been kind of following.
You're
the
not
sheriff's
missing out,
office.
they're not that great.
Well, I
That's a
think
joke,
it's,
everybody can laugh.
I think it's paying anywhere from 30–40% of that building's electricity that's being paid for
Yeah.
with those solar panels.
Tammy had a question.
The other question I had is repairs and maintenance are 4,600.
Yes,
You cross that out and put equipment. Does that mean you have no more repairs and maintenance, or did you just change the names of?
since I've been in this position 18, almost 19 years now. It's never been really used as a repair and maintenance line. It was the line that we bought our equipment from. It could be tool, or, I mean, I bought an axe to chop the wood for the wood still.
So small.
So yeah, so we decided this year, why don't we call it what it really is, and it's an equipment line.
Wouldn't that be better to be, because equipment is an asset, it wouldn't be on your income anyway, so.
Small.
I mean,
It's
so couldn't it be called small equipment?
good. That's
Just-
just doesn't matter to me.
It's-
But you're saying it
look
wouldn't
at
have been
things-
capitalizable?
Right, there's things that are there are things that are equipment, there are things that are supplies.
Right.
Yeah.
Supplies you consume. And so, for example, we had a line that was office supplies, we're just, we decided just to call it supplies,
Yeah.
because now all of our supplies will come out of that one line. And I'll go into that. For example, we're dropping our postage line.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we spend $50 in postage and sometimes we don't. But.
We talked about that last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Didn't we cut 50 out of you
Yeah,
last
it's $100
year?
before then.
So in this case, there's nothing that can be capitalized in here, it's just the small stuff. Is that
It's
correct?
small stuff, it's tools, it's,
Yeah.
you know, hammers and it's trash cans and, you know, all that type of stuff come out of that line. And then anything that's consumable, which I consider the postage stamps to be consumable, we've decided to just put that all under supplies.
Mhm.
So that's why those two lines are marked off like that. It kind of be named. If we were getting something big, it would probably go under the capital.
Yeah.
That capital line.
Yeah.
So vehicle and maintenance, we have service maintenance on 3 vehicles. It doesn't look like we've got a lot spent, but actually in a week, taking the Jeep in for brand new winter tires. That'll put us stuck up most of that. And then there's other, it's also a fuel change and filter change and all that kind of stuff, air filter. Web portals, we have a program that we use to manage our disaster response. And there's another piece to it where we manage kind of our training and qualifications and all that, it's called D4H. And it had been 2 programs, we got 2 bills, and I said, can we put it on 1 bill a year instead of halfway through the year we're paying the other one, so they did that. So that's why this year it looks like we didn't spend as much of our line for web things because we got prorated. And so the line that we have now is what it's gonna be going forward, so that cost, and it's actually down a little bit.
Why isn't web
$30.
portals under technology?
Because it's pretty much dedicated to me, it's not
emergency
being used by
management.
anybody else outside of here. But
Okay.
you'd have to have a line item just for that. But some of the stuff that we use, we have a thing called email me form, where firefighters and EMTs and EMA directors can just on their phone fill out information on like what's broken, what's damaged, or whatever, what we need for resources. And we all of us in our office get an email. They can also attach a picture to it. And so we get a picture. This helps huge when we have the power trees issues, you know, the windstorms, and $99 a year. D4H is the big piece there, that's the 4160. Out of that, GIS, our GIS is the gold standard. We don't buy that, it's just the gold standard. We have one that's actually a company here in Maine that $40 a year, they give us a GIS capability. So that comes out of that one. And then I have a program called Workflow. It's kind of like this online bullets checklist thing. And I've got that again, so the towns can actually go in. I update it. It's kind of, instead of printing off checklists to hand out to each town for response, they can just go online and download it from here, Workflow. And we also use it for internal task management. But that's pretty much our web portals. Equipment is the repairs and maintenance, old repairs and maintenance line. Copier is a big one for us. You'll notice it's gone to 0. It used to be $2,200 because the lease and the maintenance thing was $2,200 a year. At some point, they told us we're not gonna lease, you paid off our lease, so that's why we paid up $900. And then they said, we're not gonna do a plan with you anymore because the thing is so old. So what I did was I used some cash that I had, and we bought a really nice office printer, all-in-one office printer. And we got rid of the photocopier. Actually, we moved it over in the corner and we're running it until literally it dies, and it's slowly dying. Every time you open the door, another piece falls out of it. It's not connected up to anything anymore, internet or wise. But you know, it's paid for. The ink is already paid for, so we're just running it until it. Probably within a few weeks, it's going to be good. But so I don't have to have it on the lease anymore. I have the all-in-one. It's a big all-in-one printer. We paid less for that printer than we were paying for the lease every year and copy. And this thing could last for 5 years, so we were able to cut that out. Figure if we had to get a printer in the future, we could put that under the capital line. I think we paid $1,500 for it. And then we don't have any, again, the cost for paper and all that, we moved it to that supply line.
You're lucky. Tom would ask you to keep kicking that can down the road for 10 more years if he was here.
Well, we haven't gotten rid of it. Like, I'll print one sheet off the new one and then go over and stick it on the photocopy and then print off another 15 that I need. Until literally.
That too, damn.
Well, you've got supplies you gotta use up and that.
Yeah.
That sort of thing,
Yeah.
because the toner in one won't fit in
We
the
used to
toner
have
in the
4
other.
drawers, we're down to 2 now because 2 of them don't work no more. I mean, it's just, it makes loud noises, but it still runs.
Right.
So we're still using it until it's gone.
Okay, great.
But we were able to go from 2,200 to 900 last year to 0 on that line. Tower site operations, we paid for the rental on the Frankfort Windy Hill Tower site. Used to be run by the comm center, EMA. They have, with their new system, they didn't need it anymore. We're still on it, so we're paying that rent now. However, we also used to pay for snow removal. And that was important when the comm center was there, because if something went down, they had to get up there. And what we have on there is a tactical repeater for the fire and EMS police. And if something goes wrong with it, it's not a super critical thing. It's a side band type thing. If we have to go up there, we can snowshoe up there. We've never had to go up there. So we talked with the landlord and said, we don't need it plowed. So we were able to cut like 400 or 500 there. But because of the RCC's new digital system that they have, or digital system, they didn't need the internet at Aborn anymore. And we were able to find a plan for $240 a year to keep a cellular internet system at Aborn. We have a bunch of repeaters that not only they use locally, but they can be connected by internet. We can be in Portland on a handheld and get back to here through that system. And $240 a year. So
And it actually works.
it does.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and we have weather stations up there that feed into it, and there's several things that feed into it. We used to have Unity telephone up there for the internet.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a lot more than $240 a year. But now we just got a cellular card that takes care of it.
Tammy.
So the
Rob's.
That's okay. Well, no, well, on that internet thing, but so what's the backup if internet's down?
Well, if the internet is down, we could take one of the MiFi cards up there if we needed to. Cost more than what this is costing. But we can get with IT to take that up there. We have so much redundancy built in because you never know what's going to go wrong. If that radio is down, we've got different radios we could use.
But the other part of that too is it's a repeater. So they still can use radio.
Right, so we can still use it locally. We could use it within the county.
Right.
But if I was doing Augusta, I wouldn't be able to use it.
Right.
So like for a local, they still can do their job if it goes down.
Yeah. So. But we have amateur radio and we have public safety radio, and then we have satellite, and we're linked into the state's radio system.
Okay.
Mobile radio repairs hasn't changed for our request, our dues. So I got an email the other day from the state. And it said that they were dropping all the counties from the satellites based on budgetary constraint uses and availability of alternate forms of communication. As of December 1st, people will no longer be supporting the satellite phones currently deployed to the county. They've been paying for it for 20 years. And then last week they called us and said, he emailed us and said, yeah, we're not gonna do it anymore. Good luck. The reason why we have the satellite phone is because, well, for one thing, we don't even have cell phone coverage at our office very well.
Right.
But during a windstorm that knocks down the power and the phones and everything else, we've got to be able to reach out to certain people. There's a lot of entities that we can deal with by radio. And so we don't necessarily need a phone for that. But there are a lot of entities that don't have two-way radios that we still need to communicate with. I just sat down, there's a huge list. Suppliers and contractors and school officials and food pantries and the news media, and we don't have radio contact with all those type of folks. So we need the phone. Also, if we deploy with our incident command post, as many of you know, there's perfect cell phone coverage everywhere in Waldo County.
Except for
Except for a whole bunch of places.
Swanville and Knox.
Where and the next disaster that we got, emergency that we got, hazmat incident we go to, guess what? It's in the dead zone of the cell phone. And so then the satellite phone allows us to be able to call back to the office or call the state or whatever directly from the truck.
So a new tower. The building a new tower.
Yeah.
In Waldo.
We cut posts and out completely, we cut training and education. The only thing we were using our training and education budget for was if we had a meeting, we were paying for food, a training thing. And we already had a food line. So I said, well, there's no sense in having $50 for food and then another line for food. So we just cut the training education line, because put it to zero. I plussed up my food line by $50.
I have a question about the training and education. How?
Yeah.
Do you do training and
Yes, we do.
education for all your people and you're the one that probably does that?
Yes, I mean,
So, I
the
mean-
nice thing about emergency management is a lot of the training is online. And it has been for years. I mean, I was taking FEMA courses in '95. At that time, it was a book and a VHS tape. But by 2005, it had gone online. And so a lot of our training is online. Or it's at the state office, which I just drive down to, come back, at the end of the day. I
Of
just
course.
did a 2-day class up in Brewer myself. Again, I drove there, drove back. The whole cost was fuel.
So
Fuel.
the courses are free
All the courses
for
are
the
free.
FEMA?
Yeah.
Okay.
In-house, I do a lot of training, but then some of my staff do some training. For example, we have an AM radio station now set up and running. AM 530, your disaster radio. And
Did not-
my comm guy just did training with us on how to go on there and read out a new message and hit what buttons to have it transmit. It's one of these things where it just keeps retransmitting the message. My GIS guy will train us on mapping things and grid coordinates and all that other stuff. So we do a lot of that in-house also. And then we do a lot of training for the public now. Every first Thursday every month, we do what we call civil defense training and basically self-help disaster preparedness training. And then the second Thursday of every month, all these are at night. We do CERT training, Community Emergency Response Team, which is kind of disaster preparedness training for you to go back and help your community with, as opposed to just yourself.
And what's the time of those?
6:30.
And that's every first and second Thursday, and that's for the general public?
Yes.
Yeah, Timmy, they are awesome.
Yeah,
And then-
that's good.
No, they really are.
The third, matter of fact, we just did, I just did a preparedness, what I call preparedness 101 class this last time, but the time before we had the cooperative extension come over and did canning. And actually handed out jars of blueberry jam to everybody that they made.
I'm sorry, what time did you say that was?
6:30.
6:30, okay.
We've done first aid, stop the bleed. We actually, we had, because we could put on schedule for the whole year. Our stop the bleed class took place 3 days after the Lewiston shooting.
Oh, wow.
We had 45 people in our classroom.
It was packed.
They
That's
just kept
awesome.
coming in the door and I'm like, I gotta go find more chairs. And we were pulling chairs out of closets and out of people's
Wow.
offices, trying to find room for everybody.
Well, this is important.
But if I do it today, I'll get 24.
Yeah.
Which is great, but we have to, we hit the right moment with that one. People
Yeah.
they're on edge about this and now all of a sudden there's a class on how to stop the bleed. From trauma, mass
And
shooting.
Is that down at the EMA building?
The third Thursday night, 6:30, we do mass care training, which is if you want to help out with a shelter or a pet shelter or with emergency feeding, and also like the Farmers to Family Food Box program that we did during COVID. We still do something like that. Emergency food would come into us and then we would distribute it out to the public. And that's the third Thursday. I do a lot of nights. I meet with my directors on Tuesday and the firefighters on Wednesday and so,
So we have nothing for capital outlay, right?
and nothing for capital outlay.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the EMA budget with a condition of adding $50 to the food line budget. Making-
I think that-
No, I'm adding another
Another one,
$50 to make the new total 179,492. Especially what? Their requested amount is 178,992.
Right,
I'm making the motion to add another $50.
but the number that you said is $500. But you said you
Sorry,
went from 992.
my fault.
Yeah, oh,
You're right. So my motion is to add $50
for what, to the food
to
line?
the food line. Where he is doing all of these extra trainings.
But he did.
He's
add
already
50.
added. 50.
I'm aware of that.
You just want to round it
All
up.
right.
I would like to give them
You'd like to make
100
it-
instead of 50.
So you want to make it 16.
So the new amount will be 179,042.
That's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion to add. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second? Any discussion?
The reason why for this is because not only did he already take it out of it, he was open, honest about it, and he is doing all this extra stuff. So why not help him continue doing more extra positive stuff? It's a positive thing,
Okay,
and he's explaining it.
any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, so now can I have a motion to accept the full budget?
So moved.
I'm-
Well.
Yeah,
everything.
I make a
We make-
motion. Go ahead.
Give us the number.
I make a motion to accept the new budget for EMA at 179,042.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Break if needed. What do you want us to do?
Well,
What do you want us to break?
yeah, really.
So we'll take you guys want to take a short break?
Yes.
We'll get back here by 10:30, I guess. Can move
Yep.
ahead. Before we do, I'd like Doug to introduce himself.
Doug Thomas from Montville. Sorry I'm late.
Okay.
Minor emergency.
He is an amazing addition, by the way. I'm not saying that because he's my boss.
All right. So, one of the things we're gonna hit now is the, what do we call it? Advertising and promotion.
Yes.
Which I never thought was the right kind of word.
No, and no, it wasn't,
But anyhow, so, I have one question for the commissioners before we go any further. Could you kind of explain the process that the county goes through to put somebody on this list? And, well, I guess that's two questions. And why the persons we supported last year, the Firefighters Association, which is important to all of our towns who have volunteer fire departments, why they didn't participate. So,
would you like me to respond? He's asking us.
Respond, yeah.
Okay. So historically in the past, this department, and you're right, the title of it, we've always scratched our heads, but we haven't changed it. Historically in the past, different agencies will come before the commissioners, just as different agencies come before you as selectmen. And it's up to us to go through them and vet out a process to put them forward. We don't have the amount of people that come to us, believe it or not, that a lot of the towns have. I was a selectman, so I remember the list of stuff. So we managed to keep it down rather low. Barb in the past would notify the former requestees when budget process was starting, and to kind of heads up, we're asking, and they would submit in their request. And then thankfully, we took on a new finance director a year and a half ago.
Sure.
And Carrie comes to us with 20 years of municipal government, which it's real easy to get away from that when you're on the county level. It's down as it sounds.
And she wasn't replaceable. I just want to throw that.
Yeah, well, suck it up, Unity, okay? She ours.
Yeah,
But
we figured that out.
and Carrie pointed out, the last year that I was a selectman, what we wound up doing, we had so many requests that we couldn't afford to fund any of them because it became a very personal thing. So we would give all that information to the townsfolk and basically like, here, you can fund it if you choose. And then Carrie brought to us a great wisdom and said, just like anything, you have to fill out if you wish to request funds from me. Carrie created a paperwork where they had to fill out their financial status and what their request was, and so, and it had to be vetted out. It was brilliant. That immediately ended a lot of the requests that we had gotten in the past. And we reminded people multiple times, to your question with regards to the firefighters association, which is very near and dear to my heart. But at this point in time, I think we all know that you can't hold somebody's hand. And we've asked and asked, we've received nothing, therefore they are not reflected on here. I will tell you, in the past, I would always, and if you had questions, I would still fight for them. The Firefighters Association historically in the past pays for classes for your firefighters in your towns. When you make cuts, one of the first things you cut is training with the fire department or whatever. So that's why they would come to us, and a portion of that would be to fund your firefighters. But as I say, they did not, after multiple requests, submit anything, and that is why you don't see.
Okay. Do we get any other questions for the commissioners? All right, let's go ahead.
I think that's a really good description of how that goes too. So it's like, I think that's really important. And thank you, Amy, for sharing that, because you really can't do something if the other person's not trying. It takes two. So I've learned that through wisdom over the last 3 months. So.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and start with Monica Pettingill and Michael. Well,
Michael's not here today, but Donna, the CEO of the agency, is here.
Michael had a previous commitment, so I'm here today.
If you ladies just make sure you speak up for
All right,
for
sure.
everyone. Thank you.
So thank you for having us here. It's nice to be back again. This is my second year in the cycle. So this is my second time in front of you all, and I hope I'm more prepared this year than I was last year to answer your questions. So for anybody who doesn't know who Waldo Community Action Partners is, we are the agency in Waldo County that is charged with helping some of our most vulnerable populations, especially people who live in poverty. Most of your towns have general assistance programs that also help those people, but oftentimes when there isn't an option for general assistance to work, we're the people that they get referred to. In fact, sometimes we're the people they come to first. And so what we're doing is we offer programs and services that help people to reduce their financial burdens in your towns. These are people who are receiving heating assistance, or maybe their children go to Head Start, or they're receiving case management services or other energy services, transportation services. We offer a very broad array of services and programs to the people who live in your communities. Now, what that does is that in turn reduces their personal financial burdens, because as we know, things have been increasing. And so we're helping them meet their basic needs so that then they can redirect funds into the areas where they need to in the town, like when you send them a tax bill, for instance. So we do make a request every year to each of the municipalities in the county. And some of the municipalities out of the county, we do just transportation work outside of the county. What you have for numbers in front of you would be just the stuff that happens in Waldo County. So we've pulled all the stuff that happens out of the county out of that, so that you see just what we're doing in Waldo County. To bring in some of these federal dollars and these state dollars to the tune of millions of dollars that we're then funneling back into the communities to support people to stay in their houses and meet their basic needs, we are required to demonstrate local match. And this is our primary way of doing that. We go to each municipality and we ask for a small amount, 2.5%, of whatever the value of services is that we provided in that one community. And then we come here and we ask for, right now it's about 1/3 of 1% of the value that we've provided to the entire county. The reason we do that is because even though we ask for 2.5%, some communities just can't do it. In fact, with added burden, this past year, we had, for the first time in many years, a community that wasn't able to give us anything. we ask for 2.5%. We're grateful for whatever they're able to contribute because it helps us meet that local match. And then we come to you and we ask for a very, very small percentage to help us make up the difference of what we're not able to get from the towns. This past year was really tough. Last year, the year before, so 2 years back, we received 71% of what we asked from communities. This past year, we're at 58%. If we're not able to raise the local match that we need to, then we'll start having trouble meeting the match requirements for our federal contracts. And we will have trouble bringing in those millions of dollars to the community that will, we then push out to people who are the most vulnerable in your towns, helping them stay in their homes and continue to pay their taxes and help support your communities.
I think one of the other dynamics to share, we do know over the last few years, we've had a lot of questions of why our services have been increased over the last year, which in turn increases our request. Well, that thing called the pandemic kind of still has carried over. However, this year we've been highly hit with the increased need in our community, but the drastic reduction in infusement of service revenue. And in fact, sometimes we've built up and done a very good job about bringing in more revenue. We're reaching more need, but the revenue is now dissipating. A good example is rent relief came in. Rent relief passed through that raised a lot of pass-through dollars into our community, what we call direct client benefit. It goes directly to our community, to our individuals, and in that case, small business owners who had rental properties. That money has gone away, but the need is still there. Those people are being shipped to less and less and less resources that we have to meet those particular needs. Energy assistance and energy services, we've had double-digit increases over the last 4 years of people needing energy, heating assistance and support. While the benefit for those have been going down, and while the need has increased, we constantly are now being shifted to less and less funds available to meet those needs. All of these things work in partnerships. We can only do it with the resources and funds that we have, and we need to do it in partnership with our communities. And that's our approach to meeting and increasing need with maximizing the resources that we can leverage.
One question that you noted, so I think that it's only fair to the other 25 towns in one city. What is the municipality that you asked for money from and they refused to give you any? Sorry, Bob. And I already knew the answer, so.
And that was rare for us, but I also think it demonstrates the increased burden that we all understand are having in our communities. Yeah.
Well, after you answer the question, I have a follow-up question. So,
Yes,
so it was Palermo?
I have Palermo, yes.
Okay. Was there any other towns that did not give you an increase?
Nobody gave us an increase.
Nobody gave
We're
you an
seeing
increase?
decreases.
So let me rephrase that.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, so it's not that they didn't give us an increase, our ask has always been the same, 2.5%. So we did receive 100% of our ask from the cities of Belfast, the city of Belfast, town of Brooks, town of Freedom, the town of, sorry, I want to make sure I'm getting this right here. Yeah, I have a spreadsheet, so I gotta make sure I can line up my towns. Knox, Morrill, Prospect, Stockton Springs, and Troy.
Okay. So
It's
those,
only 8 towns out of
so
23.
those were the towns that matched you 100% of what you asked.
That's correct.
Okay, how about the towns that did not match you 100%, but still went up and gave you something more?
That gave us more than we asked last year.
No, they gave you more. You had asked, that's your 100% compliance of what you've asked
We've
for.
never received more than our request.
That's not true.
But we
Because
have,
that's not the question. The question
Okay.
is I asked
this
you,
one.
how many of the towns have given you the money that you've requested? You named off 8 towns. I'm asking, how many towns gave you more than the year before, even though it's not what you're requesting?
Yeah, okay, I can do this. I have all this information for you, okay?
I would
And I'm happy-
appreciate,
I'm very happy to
well,
share it.
and here's the thing is I've asked for this on my local level and you guys have never provided. So I'm gonna ask now at that county level.
Sure. So, the town of Belmont gave us 25% of our request.
Yep.
They gave us 25% of our request last year.
Mhm.
However, since the town of Belmont, our request went up because the percentage went up, like the percentage is the same, but the amount of services that we gave went up. So that means the request was more. The town of Belmont gave us 25% of our ask, which was $2,468. Last year, they gave us $2,130. So that's correct. Let's see, the town of Burnham gave us exactly the same as last year. Last year, it was $6,000. This year it was $6,000.
You only have to say the towns that have actually gone up,
Okay,
not the same exact
all
amount.
right, sure.
So we have one.
Frankfurt went up. No, that one's exactly the same. Islesboro went up.
I think I understand what you're asking.
You don't understand what I'm asking.
Well,
I
let me
haven't
see if
got-
I,
No,
if I-
I'd like to
okay.
answer this first and then. Well, that'll lead to my actual question.
Okay. Lincolnville went up by $250.
Yep.
I don't have the number for Monroe,
Okay.
so sorry.
We'll keep it as a neutral. Go ahead.
Alright.
No worries.
That one's. it's-
However, they're probably a town that really does need it, so the
That
help.
went down, that was the same. That went down. The town of Prospect went up a little. Searsmont went up a little. Searsport went down.
Mhm.
Stockton Springs went up.
Yep.
Swanville stayed the same. Thorndike went up. Troy went up.
Yep.
Town of Unity went up by,
Can you please say it loud?
36.
Can you say it loud enough so that the reporting can pick it up?
sorry, Town of Unity went up by $36.
That's not true.
So last year you gave us $8,766.
Correct, but the year before that, we used to give you 2,200 and something, 229.
That would be 3 years back.
That's last year. You guys haven't requested this year. So
2024, the request for 2024 was
the
$8,800.
request from you guys was not, it was $23,000 and we gave you guys 8,000. Before that, our town council used to give you 2,200.
So in 2023.
So we've actually gone up
In 20
$5,500.
In 2023, you gave us $8,766. 2024, you gave us $8,800. Okay. The year before that, I don't know, I don't have it on my charts.
I do know, because I did the numbers for
Yeah.
20, for 20, I know the numbers.
I think some communities have given us fixed amounts over the years, and is that what you're saying?
Nope,
There was a
nope, I'm
fixed
letting her
rate? Okay.
finish and then I'll ask you the question.
The,
Okay, I'm just trying to
I'm-
understand where you're going.
Well, the thing is that we have to do it in line.
the town of Waldo
Yep.
went down like $8,000 something dollars.
Yes.
Winterport went down.
Okay.
Okay.
So here is my question. The reason why I asked you to do that was because I know for my town and the other 12 town that's in Elisa's and I's district is that we have a very important question that your agency will not answer for us. And that is, can you please show us the comparison of who's paying for what? You guys do a great job at breaking down and telling us the services that you're providing to us. But then we end up giving you money. It goes into a general account. I want to make sure that my town's not paying for another town that's not contributing.
So we only ask any town to pay the percentage on the value of services that were provided to that town.
I
Of
understand. So are you providing services to the town of Claremont?
course we are.
Okay, who's paying for it?
We are.
Who is we?
Town of Waldo.
The county of Waldo and all their individual
Right.
towns. So
All
I'm
of the
subsidizing
resources.
his town.
Thank you.
I wouldn't say that at all.
How do you?
Okay.
So you're saying if you, where you want to go is if your town delivers $2,000 to Waldo Cap in the benefit in support of your community, you only want that $2,000 to go back into
You
your.
guys have came to us and you guys, when you go to a bank and you ask for a loan, you're asked for a bunch of paperwork to support what you're spending your money on. Our town has asked, what are we spending money on? You guys give us a breakdown of the cost of services that we have basically been given. But you don't actually tell us what we're buying. And we've asked you guys to come in on presentations. You guys have said that you would come in and you would have like a day a week where we would set you up in an office to give out support. We've called you guys for support. But all you guys keep on doing is giving us a breakdown of services that is being rendered. And we want to know if we are paying for somebody else's stuff.
Okay.
Is the money,
No, that's
is
not
the
how,
money going
that's not
into?
how we see it. All of our funds go into, all of these funds go into into a pool and cover gaps that we have in services.
Right.
We only ask for the value of services in your communities for a small portion. The reality will be if we do not get local match, we will not be able to maximize the dollars that we are able to bring in. And it's not, we don't get a lot of grants for banks. We get state dollars, we get federal dollars, we do grant writing to fill in gaps. I hear what you're asking, yeah.
So can I,
But I'd like to,
I
Amy
just,
had a question.
for clarification purposes, because I'm not sure where Selectman Parker is going, but I think I do.
Yeah.
Tim, is what you're asking for? The sheriff's department provides every town in their town report a breakdown of this is how many calls. This is how many domestic violence, this is how many accidents, this is how many house fires or whatever that we responded to specifically in your community. Is that what you're looking for?
Basically, when you spend money on something, usually you want to know what the services are that you're being rendered.
It would be, is there any way you could?
So,
And what we've been getting was basically a breakdown of how much services you're rendering, but not what we're actually spending the money on.
well, for us, what we are delivering to you, what we report to you is what we've actually spent revenues on, all revenues
I hear you, but
in your
but
community.
what you just gave us for a presentation was that you are subsidizing general assistance. General assistance goes through my town office.
No, what I'm gonna tell you
I'm
is
the
people
one-
receiving general assistance are also receiving our funds.
I
as
hear
well.
you, but you
Yes.
just got done stating that
Yes.
you subsidized it.
no,
On top of it.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Tammy,
Yeah.
you had a question?
Robin.
Robin, geez.
so what's the total that you actually asked of his town units?
$793,839.
No,
It
no,
was
no,
two-
the two and a
20
half.
it was
percent.
20.
Oh, sorry. The amount we asked for was.
Like 23, 24,000.
Right,
I have to flip between
You never
sheets.
asked any of our towns for 100%.
No,
No,
What
no,
we
no.
spent in our town. So
2.5%.
you're asking for a portion.
Yeah,
of
we
what you spent,
asked,
and you tell us how many people you spent
Yeah.
this money.
yes.
I,
And
Your-
all of.
your funding comes from multiple sources.
Correct.
What did you get in total from all of the towns in Waldo County? That was still just a small percentage of the money you spent in all of those towns, right?
Correct.
So your idea that there's some zero sum thing happening here where my town or your town is subsidizing his town is very fallacious. Because we're only paying a portion of our own town's expense. If you paid them more than the like 23,000 that they paid to your town, then yeah, you could say, I'm subsidizing this other town. But you're just not seeing this.
You say that, but here's the thing. My town used to pay $2,200.
And when you
they-
paid that, how much were they, what's the value of the service?
My town wouldn't go up. My council didn't think that they should go up. They didn't go up until I came into office, so I appreciate your feelings. But the reality is that there's 25 towns in one city, all contributing to this one program, and then they're stating why they, and then they're stating why they have to come back and get more funding. I'm just asking the one funding source that they're getting it from, my town, just like your town, am I subsidizing any other town? That's a question.
I think the answer is a very clear no.
Okay,
Well, I'm happy that you're providing that
All
answer
right.
for them.
guys, I think we gotta cut off this discussion.
So if I can.
I'd like to make a statement about Palermo.
Uh-huh.
So we have a process where we ask for information
Mhm.
for our town meeting.
Yep.
Right.
Ask for financial statements, ask for how many people you guys took care of and all that. If we didn't get that in time for
Right.
our budget, we wouldn't have put it up to the townspeople and they wouldn't have voted on it. So I suspect that's what happened here.
So it wasn't a time issue, there was some, you are correct. We didn't get anything from Palermo. It was, there was some address changes, I understand, and phone number changes, you moved locations or something?
No.
No,
We probably did away with our post office box because we didn't really need that. Then we're going with
That
45 North
That
Palermo
that may
Road.
be what happened,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
when I reached out to the town of Palermo
Right.
to find out what was going
All
on,
right,
I was told that the address had been changed. We
fine.
had,
And
we
so,
got mail
so it
returned
didn't,
to us.
it didn't get in time. We didn't get the request in time. So
yeah.
all us, I think we've heard enough on this.
Yeah.
and
So
we-
if I may, we only ask 2.5% of the value of the services actually delivered. If the services go up that are delivered to that community, the percentage does go up. But conversely, if the services go down in that particular area, also the request goes down. And last year we have had, at least the first one I could pick up on is one town that had a reduction in their request payments because the value of services to that community actually reduced. Because we only asked 2.5%. So our ask was reduced because the value of the services was reduced.
Okay.
It does go up, but it also does go down because we hit 2.5% of our total request of the value of services. And that value of the services is what was actually delivered with all funding requests that we had.
Okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
all right. Thank you very much. Let's go on to hear from the Belfast Creative Coalition.
We got
We'll vote on this, I think, after we've heard from everyone. So we'll see what we're going to do.
We have a podium right up here, ma'am.
Yeah, well, after this, I'm sort of dreading this.
That's why we put Tim close to the podium.
I'll say that some of our services, all of our services are volunteer. That hasn't always been the case, but the last 2 years and since COVID, it has been the case.
If it makes you feel that I used to be beat with a crutch by my mother, I probably won't.
I'm not gonna be. We have two main things that we've been doing in the last few years. They are events that are all free and that include young artists, very young artists, and all the way to senior artists, maybe they haven't been seen before or done anything before. And the other thing we have is an organization that is under us called Helping Incarcerated Individuals Transition. I'm not nervous, but I'm breathy, I'm sorry. So that is run by formerly incarcerated people, was founded and run by formerly incarcerated people, and it's really great. And we do things with that, like recently a man was in hospice from Maine State Prison, he was taken to hospice. So our people got him a laptop and services and a cell phone. So that kind of thing. The other thing we do is that we have backpacks that we fill up for both formerly incarcerated people and their families. And that has art supplies, it has all kinds of information. Why am I'm not as nervous as.
You're doing a great job.
I'm
You really
sorry.
are.
It has backpacks that we have information about addiction, how people can get addiction services. It has clothes, if winter is coming on, blankets, all kind of cell phones. We try to provide cell phones for people who are coming out of jail, but also for families who can't afford that kind of thing. So, but you'll see, if you have the financials, and I do have them, that everything that we do is volunteer. And I don't know what else to tell you. Ask me. I can.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'll ask some questions. Why not? We've already ripped off the Band-Aid. How many people in Waldo County have you helped in the last year?
In the last year, we helped over 100 people, 125.
Oh, that's cool. And,
A lot of those are comprised of people coming out of jail and their
Right.
families.
well, I think that's the important part is the family part of it. How involved are you guys with that reintegration part? Or, you know what I mean, helping the families part?
Well, for two reasons, because of HIT, helping incarcerated
Yes.
individuals trying to transition, which is
I'm aware.
no, yeah. We're very involved, but also because we both volunteer for the reentry center.
Yes.
And we both do programs like we teach writing, we teach theater, that kind of thing.
So you guys are providing in the community actual educational programs? now?
Yes.
Okay.
And we specifically focus too on people who've been incarcerated for very long times and then coming back into these communities and the help that they need.
But for reducing risk.
Yes, well, yes, we believe in it.
How many services do you provide that affect young children?
Well, I think that's a good question. We focus with Betty the Art Band when we go out with Betty, we
Yes.
give out free art supplies and then we do little classes and we're in different communities. So that's all children.
Mhm.
And then when we know that an incarcerated or formerly incarcerated person has a family and many children, then we try to find them and support them. And always the children are, a focus.
Would you say that through your programming with addressing the children and their trauma, that in a way you're maybe stopping the cycle from continuing?
Well, I do believe that, yeah, we believe that, and I think, I don't wanna go on a big spiel, but when people are incarcerated, the longer they're incarcerated, it makes huge impact on their families, huge impact on their lives, so any help that we can give, in the form of art and art classes, but also information, support, all kinds of support, I think it helps.
That's all from you. You did a great job.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Go ahead.
So the focus of your program here is art therapy along with educational.
Well, we don't call it art therapy, but there is one way, it's putting art, and that's theater, music, all kinds of art at the center of difficult conversations.
Mhm.
So, it could be called art therapy. It's also activism, people wanting to act, to change their lives, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Other questions? Right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Grab your water, hon.
Yeah.
I've got it for you.
Thanks, I'm sorry.
No, that'd be awesome.
Thank you.
So,
Well, those two are in that particular
Right.
budget, so I guess.
so, we've got, 1080 advertising and promotion, which included those two organizations. The ask is for 7,000. And the commissioners say, yes, on 7,000. It does not include the firefighters, which, you help poor people, you help your firefighters.
As I say,
It's tough.
understand, it was the
Yeah.
same position that you spoke of
Right.
with the last thing we want to do, but I'm not gonna lie, the last 2 years, I think I've presented it And-
chased and chased.
and pushed it. So I I hate to do it, but at some point, gotta stop holding the kid's hand, it's.
That's right, but it's to the detriment of our
Next
fire
year, they'll
department.
pay
Well,
attention.
and it's surprising too, because they've had a lot of challenges this year with volunteer fire departments with a lot of legislation that's come up. So you would think that this would be a very imperative year for us to give them more than requested. Whether
Agreed.
Sure.
Agreed.
But if
Tammy?
they've had to chase them for 3 years
Yeah.
to get, they have to take with their own responsibility for their,
Look, I don't want to pay people either. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, no, not that, it's not that, but that's, I agree with you that
Yeah.
that's one of the most important things on this
Yeah.
budget.
Oh, absolutely.
But if they have to keep chasing them, they have to
Right.
be responsible to get this stuff in here. You
Next
know?
year, they're gonna participate because they're gonna get the message.
Yeah. Well, good luck and have fun.
Checks talk.
So I'll entertain a motion for 10, is it 1080?
Motion to approve, Department 1080 for $5,000 for,
No,
right?
so
For the seventh.
Oh, I'm sorry, for seven, I'm sorry, try this again, for $7,000, 5,000 for the Waldo Tap, transportation and 2,000 for the Belfast Creative.
I'll second it.
got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Any more discussion? Those in favor? Okay, thank you. So department number 1080, advertising and promotion. Pass up at $7,000.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We're still running early.
Yeah.
All right. So Brent, you wanna tell us about University of Maine Cooperative Extension?
Thank you, Rob. So I brought a copy of a presentation that I've been developing over the last year and delivering at least 2 rounds this year, Guatemala and Syria Port. I have enough for everyone on the budget here if you all would like to take one.
I think it's funny.
And this, so this presentation talks a lot about the history of cooperative extension. There were quite a few questions at last year's budget committee about the funding model for cooperative extension. And I'm happy to go into this in as much detail as you all would like me to, but so I guess first of all, I'm new to this role as a county liaison with cooperative extension. I started in Waldo County last September in my role as a sustainable agriculture and farm business management educator. And my position programmatically is a statewide position, but I'm housed in the Mid-Coast. So I'm part-time in our Waldo County's office and part-time in the Knox Lincoln office in Waldoboro. And so in that capacity, I provide direct technical assistance to commercial agricultural producers in Waldo County in all of our towns. And what that consists of is it has to do with site suitability for placing agricultural enterprises on the land. It has to do with developing nutrient management plans for producers and helping them with soil testing, looking at the physical and chemical properties of the soil. It also has to do with developing integrated pest management plans for them on their farms. So delivering education around pesticide safety and helping them manage insects in a way that's environmentally and economically efficient and sustainable. So I'll just start with that introduction. We're in a little bit of a period of flux with extension. We just hired, as a part of our executive leadership team, a executive director of extension operations role, and that's Carrie Chasteen. And she'll be based in Orono, but she's going to be working with you all next year with all the other 16 counties in Maine to provide more support around having your questions answered, helping our Waldo County Executive or Extension Association, which is the volunteer community board that helps guide the work that Extension does, providing them with support to help with the budgeting process and to help with the reporting process on a statewide level as well. So that whenever we have educators who come into Waldo County that are subject matter experts in other areas like livestock production, for instance, we're able to more effectively capture all of the value that the extension as an organization at a statewide level is providing to your communities at the county and town level. So that's an ongoing conversation that we're having as an organization currently. But I'm here in an interim capacity to speak for cooperative extension and to hopefully be able to answer any questions that you all have today.
So last year we cut out some money from your guys' program. And we were concerned that it might affect some employment. Were you guys able to bounce back?
So, the situation that occurred last year is we at one point, we had 2 part-time administrative specialists.
Yes.
And I'm really glad you brought this up because this is essentially 4 out of every $5 that the county contributes to our operations in our extension office off of Waterville Avenue goes to personnel salaries. And the University of Maine pays benefits for those administrative specialist roles, but the county pays the salary portions. And so what occurred is at one point, before our last budget cycle, we had 2 administrative specialists who were both working. One was working like 3/4 time and the other was working half time. We unfortunately lost our half-time administrative specialist and we haven't refilled that position. What we ended up doing is cutting the operational hours of the office back from 5 days a week to 4 days. But that 5th day is by appointment only. So if we have any individuals who are interested in picking up a soil test or accessing any of the services that we provide at the county level, plant identification, plant disease diagnosis, insect identification, just to name a few, they're able to meet any of us by appointment on Fridays. So that's how we've handled that reduction in our budget. We would like to, and this is reflected in this year's proposal, we would like to go ahead and rehire that position again. If we can obtain full funding in this budget cycle.
Yeah. Happy that you, thank you for answering the question.
Yeah.
So last year when we had decided to cut, I had a resident who was very frustrated with me, who is a farmer. Well, I'm not going to mention his name. His Jim would be upset with me. He came to me and I ended up going to a training on actually what you guys do. And did you know that for every dollar we've spent on you, you have produced a return of 10?
Yeah,
Which means that this $53,669.83 for our county has been turned around to create a value of $536,693.08. And that actually affects our district, at least, the most, because our district is mainly farmland. So I wanted to personally tell you thank you. And that's the reason why I asked how it affects your guys' operation, because it hits my district the most.
Thank you, Tim. Now, I do know historically.
And I paid for that training myself and went on my own time. Just want people to know that.
Good thing.
Yeah, and again, I'm always very thankful to come before select boards in the towns in the way that I have in Palermo and Searsport, and have some of you all's time on your agenda to really spell out the history of extension, why this form of education is so unique and so valuable in our communities and for our society. So always happy to do that. And Billy Jo Pendleton, who's our administrative specialist, she can always, communicate with your towns individually, and we can get something. Or I have cards with me. If you all would like to reach out to me individually, I'm always happy to have you all on my calendar and to come and talk more about extension. We love promoting the good work that we do especially with the natural resource concerns of our society. Good. So this packet also mentions all of the other great work that we do in youth development with our 4-H program. Talks about the Maine Families Program as well, which is housed in Waldo County, that specifically serves so it would be prenatal. So they meet with expectant mothers all the way up to, I believe it's infant under the age of 3 months. So it's essentially a program that helps parents learn some of the best practices around health and safety of young infants, and also provides a lot of really unique opportunities for young parents to connect as well, and find community around what can. I mean, I have a 6-year-old daughter. I know full well the challenges of young parents, and we've had a lot of great feedback at the community level of the work that the Maine Families Program does, so.
I have a question for the commissioners. We also spend money on the cooperative extension to maintain the facility for them.
You, the taxpayers, provide them with a structure, electricity, power, plowing, trash, so on and so forth, on top of their request, $14,950 is spent by the taxpayers out of our facility budget for that. That doesn't include the I think 65,000 we spent a couple of years ago updating and providing. I think we got rid of mold and all kinds of stuff in that building a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And recently, new gutters were also put on the building to hopefully, mitigate any future issues around
Mr. Cherry,
mold.
if you would allow me to ask.
Certainly.
So the University of Maine, because I'm a little gray here. I'm more familiar with soil and water than yourself, and I was a farmer much of my life. Isn't there some counties where the University of Maine is 2 counties?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Knox and Lincoln.
Knox and
also
Lincoln, which I know you
Saginaw.
folks spend a lot of time in Lincoln County. I know you guys have done extraordinary things down at the prison and assisting them with their food program and stuff. That's awesome, because that's not in my county. So yeah, so that's interesting that we could perhaps combine with another county.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely, and that's been a way of helping to provide for the needs of-
Sharing expenses,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely, and that's the case in both Knox and Lincoln counties, and also Androscoggin and Saginaw have a joint office in Elizabeth Falls. Yeah, so, and that's a great point to bring up as well, in that we've actually, across the state, we have many different facilities and sort of financial relationships to the counties that we serve. In some counties, we own our buildings outright. In Knox and Lincoln County, we historically have had funds put up to actually build a facility that we manage entirely as the Cooperative Extension Association in Knox and Lincoln. So there's a lot of different ways to, provide these services at the county level, and different funding models. And my, soon to be replacement in this role, Carrie Chastain, who's going to be doing this work at a statewide level, I know would be, more than happy to speak with you all about ways that we might be able to make that relationship more sustainable for the county as well into the future.
Mary, you had a question?
When does she start?
She started about 3 weeks ago, so she's very, very new to her role, and she has a very large, the role itself is really large in scope, that's kind of unfortunately the direction that many of our roles have moved in, is that we're also, like everyone, having to find efficiencies wherever we can. So, she's going to be providing support, Carrie Chastain, on a statewide level to all 16 counties, but you all will still have local representatives like myself, who are program providers who serve as liaisons as well. So it's not replacing entirely, but it's creating a little bit more consistency across all 16 counties in sort of the way that we deal at the county level.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to make a statement.
Certainly.
So you were new in your position here last year when we were having our meeting. And I just want to say that at least from my position in the Belfast area, there has been improved, I'm going to lump it under communication. Community outreach. There was a definite improvement in the past year, whether it was an article or a newsletter or a whatever, a program, it took many different forms, that I felt like we were heard. And that there was a resulting action as a result of that. So I just want to thank the organization. And I don't know that you directly had anything to do with it, but I know you were the one in the room that heard us loud and clear. So thank you for that. And I just want to make another statement about the young parents program. We know in the last several decades or generations, people have moved away from their families in many cases. Not as much here, there's more family generational here, but still in rural communities, families you don't have the grandparents and the parents that are there to help you and guide you and teach you what to do when that new baby is expected or coming home. That's a really important program. So I'm happy to hear that it seems to be successful to some degree.
And I can say thanks for the communication. Brett came and talked to our town after our meeting last year. So, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Can I just ask-
Robin.
Thanks. Good job. Can I just ask for clarification? I thought I heard you say you were being replaced by Mary, but then you said she's statewide and we'd still have a local representative.
So
So-
replaced in the sense that she will be the one doing most of the communicating at a county level, but I will be here to provide more of that communication
Oh,
piece.
so you're
So I'm-
still here? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank
And I will still be, and it's built into what we call a plan of work. Each of us have a plan of work as staff at Extension. I built in days in my schedule to attend select board meetings and to be in that liaison role moving forward. But kind of the more higher level decision making will come through Carrie Chastain's office.
Any further questions from the committee? All right, I'll entertain a motion for budget center.
Number.
2005.
I make a motion that we accept Department 205 at $53,669.38.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Well, that's level funding what this year's budget is. So we're not increasing them at all.
Isn't that's what they asked for?
No,
they asked for
they
60.
60,000. It's not
Okay,
200.
mine's not right then.
In the red column, Tim?
It's a short one.
202005.
No,
That doesn't look like the right easy either.
Is it up there?
It's
Waldo
not-
County Extension right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Next one. So you asked for
Alright.
60 in order to fund the.
Yes, so I make a motion that we
But we have a motion
Yeah,
on
we
the floor.
Just amend it. Did anyone second it? I did.
there, already seconded.
So do you have the correct form, Tim?
I do now.
Okay,
So let's just carry on with that motion.
Yeah.
All in favor? All opposed?
All right.
Okay, whoa.
I'm gonna,
Can you all help me out? What was that account again? I'm
Oh.
sorry.
This one opposed, the rest from the favor.
No,
No,
the other way around.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
So how many opposed? How many in favor? I'm
one
sorry.
opposed, everybody else in favor.
Okay,
I'm gonna make
Thank
a,
you.
I'm gonna
I
make
was
a,
opposed.
No, wait, I was gonna say we were.
Yeah, we
opposed.
need to
We were
vote again.
opposed.
yes.
We were opposed.
it was one in favor and the
The
rest.
rest
were
opposed.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve Department 2005 for the requested amount of 60,200.
Second.
there's a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor of that? Okay. All opposed? All right. So,
The town of Unity, by the way, echoes Belfast. We appreciate all the work you do. No problem.
so we've approved 2005 and 60,200. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, I guess we're ready for a lunch break, or can we get more done?
I don't think food's here yet.
And I know these, well, soil and water is here.
Let's.
Gentlemen?
Let's see.
Andy,
that.
Andy's in the. Bob, if you, Mr. Chair,
All right.
you do
Let's
have,
do-
Mr. Reed and Mr. Randall in the back.
All right, let's do soil and water, please. 2035. Did I look at it right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's afternoon, but good morning. We're gonna do it. I'm Andy Reed, this is Gene Randall, our treasurer. And we requested the same as we got last year. And we're open to any questions that we might have.
Any questions from the committee?
I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the request of 25,000 for Waldo County Soil and Water.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All.
Much appreciation, you guys.
very much.
I'm very familiar with these boys. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can have my sandwich, by the way.
Thank you.
Well, next one's information management.
Thank you.
That would be Jason. If he's around, is Jason around?
I'm calling right now.
Talk to the computer, because
I see, I
What
see
about if
him on.
we skip ahead and do county commissioners? They're
Yeah,
here.
we can do that.
what? Isn't it time for some pain meds, Mary?
Then you come down to do your presentation.
I'm open to him.
I'm fine. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to keep up.
Okay, thank you.
So far.
Carrie, what was the result?
Jason will be down here in a couple of minutes.
Okay, well, let's just keep with the.
So just so to see that we're all on the same page, so far, the two changes that I have to this budget are we have an increase of $890 in Department 1010, that's the
Yeah.
EMA.
Jason's on his way down.
Okay,
We also have an increase to the extension, which is Department
2005.
2005, and that amount is 6,522.
Yep,
We're all on the same page, okay?
Did you say that last one?
$6,522 increase. Increase, Mary. So-
you mean Robert.
No, it's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just,
That's okay.
I thought
I'll
you-
answer to anything.
You know, you cannot call my committee members by their wrong name.
did you bring back snacks for the rest of us? Robin?
It's on.
2 bags.
I brought, well, one for my husband.
Oh, seriously?
He's homesick
Oh,
and he's stuck on puppy duty all by himself all day. The least I could do is get him his favorite skunk.
what's the puppy?
She's a golden retriever.
Oh,
4 months, so she's in the real terrible twos.
absolutely. And that'll continue for like 3 years.
It's been a new thing.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
If we have a break, can we?
You're not leaving again.
And we're gonna put one of those tags in.
That's right.
You got a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
The doors are locked.
That's the best time to take a break when everybody's in here.
Well, yeah.
Because you
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
you've got access to the facilities.
just to have something to talk about while we wait, as you all are well aware, you have the same sheets in front of you. You can see where the IT budget, the increase is 2.71. For the most part, again, it will come out that it's personnel. Moving ahead to the commissioner's budget, you'll see an increase of 11.29. We took the part-time position that truthfully we threw it for a net last year and stuck it in her budget and put it back in our budget. But just food for thought to think about as we go. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Sorry, I had to find a parking spot.
We took them on.
I'm totally legally parked though.
We will tell you. Yeah.
All right.
We have everybody back.
Yes.
Okay.
We're all set.
Okay, full-time personnel, I have a 6% increase, 3% of that is due to the COLA increase. The rest is due to a 5-year step increase for the IT director position. 3,100 part-time personnel is a 3% increase composed of the 3% COLA increase. Travel and mileage is a 75% decrease. In the past.
Hey, Jason?
Yeah.
If I can interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the part-time. So far, we've spent only $2,000, well, through August
Yes,
on a part-time person, and you're asking for 27,000.
yes, yes, so he's supposed to be working, the person that we have currently 20 hours a week. The person that we have in that position, and we budgeted for that last year, but I think it got budgeted into the full-time line and combined into that one line, so it's just moving it down into the part-time line. Am I correct on that, Carrie?
Doesn't look like it.
Sorry, I can.
No.
What's
Because I know we had added that to last year's
Yes.
budget.
as of last year, IT, both positions were in the full-time line, so he's
Gotcha.
broken that up.
Yeah.
So you just split it.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it should have been broken up that way last year, so.
But yeah,
So
we've only spent, because you haven't filled the position yet?
The position is filled, the person that we have in that position, is also the person that does our wiring in the buildings. He does that as his own company. And he has been doing the EMA building, the comm center building and things like that. So he's been busy doing that on his own time to do that.
So you have a related party transaction to report to your auditors. Okay,
Yes. So needless to say, he's been busy doing that.
okay,
So I haven't had as much time with him as I have hoped.
okay.
So, yes,
But in 2025, you're expecting,
yes, one way or another, I'm
Utilize
going to
him.
get somebody in there 20 hours.
okay,
Is my plan.
okay.
Um,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. I appreciate the questions. Travel and mileage in the past, the IT department has paid for travel to a Motorola summit for the IT department and the comm center director. I've broken that out, so now the comm center is gonna pay for their own travel. So I'm just paying for one person traveling down to that summit from now on. Telephone and internet, there's a 2% increase. In my original explanation sheet, I had put that there were 4 new positions. There's actually a prospect of one more new position, which is an SRO, school resource officer for Winterport. So that would also need a cell phone. So that'd be a 5th, but it would still be included in that amount. So because we would get reimbursed
But it's still
for that
needs to
cell
have-
phone, but I just want to be transparent that there would be 5 new cell phones that we would need.
Tammy, you're welcome. There's another
Yes,
addition.
thank you. Absolutely.
Mm.
And that is the grand total of the 3% increase.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Come on, Tim.
Oh, I have questions, but I mean,
Go ahead. I'm here.
well, I know, but our last conversation, you were very worried. So I guess I'll just
I'm
go ahead
worried.
and, and bring it up. So, would you say that the county, you are basically the pulse of the county?
No.
No, you don't think so? Do you think that this?
Save a cog in the
Do you
machine.
think that this county would be able to sufficiently run if you were not able to do your job?
I would say it would, me personally, I would say they need someone in this position.
That wasn't the question.
I'm not gonna put myself as that high of a,
If you're-
someone else can do this job.
If your department wasn't able to effectively run, would you say that the county could effectively run by itself?
I would say it would struggle. What I will say is we have backup plans in place.
Yep.
If the comm center goes down, we have ways to run temporarily without computers. To dispatch without computers if need be. It's not ideal.
Okay.
But we have had to do it when we're doing software upgrades, things like that. I think it's important to have backup plans because technology is technology, you know, relying on CMT, relying on phone companies, internet companies. We can, much like Dale, you know, you have to plan for the worst. My wife constantly says I'm a pessimist. I say I'm a realist. But yeah, we try to do what we do, but you know, there have been times where we've had to use pen and paper to dispatch, or I think they have like a cribbage board where they keep track of where the units are and things like that, but.
Okay, so I guess where I was going with this is this, it's great that there's alternatives for people to physically do their jobs in a moment where you're not able to be readily available. But that still doesn't negate the fact that you are a service at this point in time that the county is required to have in order for this county to sufficiently run as a $12 million, after today, probably $13 million business.
I would say like facilities, you know.
One thing that we had talked about when I came up and talked to all the department heads, and I think that you don't give yourself enough credit, is just how important your department is. Your department is not only the pulse, but the backbone of this whole entire county. So I guess that was the point of where I was going with it. There was a lack of self-affirmation from you. And it's like, it's something very important to only see what looks like what a $6,000. I mean, if I'm reading that right, you're looking for a $6,000 increase.
Yeah, it's the COLA increase and then the 5-year step increase. So that's all it is. And it's, you know, that's.
But to keep in mind from last year, there was a total shift where your department did obtain a lot of other departments.
The telephone.
Telephones.
Correct.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to also do is illustrate exactly where your department is coming from.
Yeah.
So that's all. I just think that's, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, Tim, let me ask you a question. Is your concern that if something should happen to Jason, we don't have the appropriate backup to fill his spot?
Yes.
And that's where the part-time person
will help out.
Is supposed to be helping out and getting them in 20 hours a week. And
But I mean, again, I think every one of us in this world, you're right, I don't know what we would do without Jason, but I think every one of us in this world, you know, likes to think that the world can't revolve without us, but you know.
You say that, but my town, whew, it was hard finding another.
Get over it, okay? Just get over it.
We're trying.
Anytime you lose a clerk, anytime you lose a treasurer, anytime you use a.
Yeah, no, I mean, but so we are profoundly appreciative and grateful for Jason, but and I don't know what we would do, and we got him a part-time guy, and it turns out the part-time guy's got another job, and you know, he does that, but I mean, Jason is the one.
I think that there was a huge mentality when I was working for the county, not from the commissioners, but there was a mentality amongst the employees that were just replaceable. You know what I mean? But I think that it's really important too for people to take affirmation and just know how important they are. And you didn't do that when I was up there, and you need to hear.
I appreciate that.
You really are.
I guess what I will put out there is I'm not getting that feeling from others. That's just something I put on myself.
Oh, no, I don't.
Because I just, you know.
I'm talking from. So it's really important because I knew when I was doing my job, I couldn't do it without IT.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. One thing we are working on, and I say we, is we do have a CDS funding request in right now for $381,000 to upgrade laptops in the vehicles for all county law enforcement departments. So it'll be Belfast Police Department, Stockton Springs, Searsport, Islesboro, and I think Northport has one in summertime.
Yeah.
Possible. Yeah, so we'll do that and get mobile spillmen in there for them. So it's currently made it by both the House and Senate Appropriations Committees, and then has to go by the full House and Senate and then to the President's desk. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll get it, but until we see the the funding, Carrie won't let me spend any.
Oh, that's good.
Which I totally understand. Don't
All
fall
right,
for it.
all right, thanks, Nathan. I'll entertain a motion for the
I make a motion that we accept Department 1035 for information technology for the amount of $229,548.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, passes at 229. 548. Thank you. No, if we finish before lunch, do we still get lunch?
Looking at, is lunch here? I'm not.
I called and.
No, that's fine. I mean, why
They,
can't we?
they planned on 12:15, but
Yeah, that's cool.
they might be down soon. We'll see.
Do we,
I'm
Bob,
teasing.
do you want to move on? I mean,
Yeah, let's keep
Mary
going.
was right.
Let's keep going.
To the commissioners'
County
budget?
commissioners.
Commissioner's budget is Department 1020. It's going to show an increase of 11.29.
So I got it down a couple questions on this, so we
Please.
might as well start with that. Personnel part-time, I think you kind of explained that to me, that was moving over
So
to.
years ago, we always had a deputy, well, it was called a deputy county clerk back then, and then it was a deputy, and then it was a clerk, and then we changed the title multiple times, but we hired a part-time person a year and a half ago, and it was just amongst a lot of chaos going on, and we put her under Annette's department. She is under the commissioner's department, as fills in with all the positions, whether it's finance or HR or the county. And so therefore we asked to have that put back within our budget. So that's why you see a part-timer there. Bob, because I know you're really watching the numbers, so I'm sure you see that our professional services line
Yeah. That was my
shows a
next-
significant decrease. And again, remember, with HR and Annette was kind enough to create that budget for us a year and a half ago. So we really weren't sure who was going to use what for professional services. So it looks as though our line has decreased on professional services, whereas Annette's has increased and balanced it.
But your line didn't decrease.
Did it?
No, no.
It's the same number.
You're asking for the same number.
It's the same number as 24. 23 to 24 is where the decrease was.
Oh, okay, you're right, you're right.
So my
So-
question
Yeah,
was,
would
it, you've got two people there. You've
Yeah.
got a bond counsel and you've got a county attorney.
Mhm.
And do you need the bond counsel for your cans? Is that how you use?
Yes.
bond
Yeah.
counsel?
Yes, so I just want to explain originally last year when it was presented, Annette's portion was or HR portion was part of this, and we would deduct it from this year, but we looked at the legal fees that have been approved this far. And there would not be enough in next year's budget just based on this year, knowing that we have some legal counsels coming up. So I suggested to the commissioners that they keep it the same. Because at this point, they have spent a considerable amount of money in legal fees.
And I think last year, the legal fees were up because of the sale of the courthouse
So that was some of that.
And that carried into this year too.
carried into this.
Yeah.
Doesn't our payroll come out of professional services, or didn't it historically in the past? Annette?
When we set up ISOL initially, because HR was under the commissioner's budget, it did. However, we didn't know where it should have fell in 24. So it stayed in yours. Now that we know what was part of the professional line for the commissioners for 25, we pulled it out and put it where it was supposed to be in HR under payroll.
And that's-
17,500.
Yeah, so there's 17,000 that will no longer be coming out of the commissioner's line, correct?
Correct.
Huh, okay, so that number should be different.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, just do remember, some of the charges for professional fees for the commissioner's line is I'm thinking why they left it at the same amount is because even though HR's professional line went up, some of the fees that does get charged to the commissioners does depend on what issue is going on within the county. And we deem it necessary to fall under the commissioner's budget because of the type of the legal advice that's being given. It could be, Barb would have to pull out some of the invoices to really kind of reference it, but so I'm not too privy on what gets hit with the commissioner's budget, but I do know for myself, when an invoice comes in from Bernstein Shore, for example, I'll look at it and say, the same employment attorney or, but it's not a HR issue, it's a commissioner issue. So trying to be very delicate with some of the topics that come up, but I think that might be why Carrie recommended it to stay the same.
Yeah, Tammy, you have a question?
Mine is, excuse me, on the, because you answered most of them, but the training line, it's gone down considerably, and I'm wondering because with the fact that 2 new county commissioners are going to be on board next year, isn't there some kind of training that they would need to do or that they're required to do or anything like that? I know counselors need to.
There's only, one workshop that have to go, and that's the right to know. Workshops, they're required to be certified. Other than that, it's kind of things on their own. But I think MMA gives some, and there's a fee for it, like assessment evaluation. The town does not have, assessors committee. Then the county hears any dispute on the different towns that have a dispute about their taxes. There's also, there are some, yes, you can find some, but it's not a required type thing.
But with new ones coming on, like, I guess that's your question.
Yeah, 20 years.
Would we want to, is that budget sufficient enough to?
Well, then, that's a good question. Yes, that would be great.
Tim?
I actually agree with Bob, and this would be the reason why. Is that number going to be sufficient enough? Because when you all first became commissioners, you didn't have as many contractual unions to deal with as there is now. Is there trainings that a new commissioner coming in would maybe want to go to help with leveraging contracts with unions?
There's a multitude of trainings and classes that you can take, and as selectmen, I'm sure you're aware of a lot of them that are offered through MMA. We are also members of MMA.
Yep.
So there is a cost. It's usually a smaller cost. Your HR director has found a wonderful service, which allows up to $1,200 a year reimbursement for trainings for employees. And she has stayed on us and utilized that right straight ahead. So any new classes, and you're right, I come on 20 years ago, and a lot of it was figure it out.
Does that 1,200 count for commissioners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And Annette can recover that. So we've been able to provide a lot of training. She's a wealth of knowledge and will help you out there. And is it adequate? Is it ever adequate?
No.
But as a commissioner, there are other areas that you'll be able to, become creative in or whatever. A lot of the classes, it's pass, fail, pay or not. You know what I mean?
So I didn't bring my last year's books, but so in 2023, this line was $1,334. And now it's down to 400, and I don't have that back history to reference to get the answer. Does anybody remember what was done under training in 2023 that popped it up so different?
Barb might have taken a couple trainings. I'm not trying to throw you under the
No,
bus.
that's
I
fine.
think you did.
Something else that often fell under that line was when and COVID impacted some of this, attending trainings with the Maine County Commissioners Association during their annual convention, that the registration for that and the training for that often came out of that line. And I don't think that one that one has been attended quite as much as it was.
That would make, that would right
Yeah.
there.
But so
What
that's
the number
something that would be
yeah.
part of
Currently, that
cost.
line is at 50%, 50.
They did
50%
request 1,200 last year.
Well, that's why I was trying, I didn't have my book
Right,
last
that's why
year, yeah.
I pulled my notes.
Okay,
So,
any further questions for the commissioners?
Didn't that, the all phone center, didn't that drop to $600 now instead of 1,200?
You would have to refer to RHR, who's extraordinary and can answer that.
Thank you for sharing that. I have not been notified that that went up, increased to $600, which would make it 1,800. I'm not aware of that.
No,
went
the
down.
opposite.
I think it went from 1,200 down to
Oh, it did.
600.
Oh, I haven't been notified of that either. I will look into that. Thank you for sharing that. I will. I already shut my computer up, but I'm thinking, oh, instantly send.
We've utilized, Annette has utilized that training line over and over.
I know that right now they've approved some, so for example, we have 3 deputies at the Maine Criminal Justice Academy right now, and I submitted there, and they charge us $3,000 per employee, and I submitted it and they approved it. For the 1,200, so I'll look into that, maybe because I technically submitted it in December, they used the 23. Maybe that's decreasing in 25. I do know that it was on, when we applied or got approved to be part of that program last year. At that time, they said it would be 23, 24, and 25. So I anticipate some changes in that program in
There was a
25.
decrease that maybe was 25.
Okay.
When they first put it out, it
Right.
was 12. I remember the 12 and the 6. I just don't remember where the break was at time.
But I will look into that. Thank you for mentioning that.
So I got,
I'm gonna go with Tammy. She had her. email
Oh, yeah,
first.
sure. But
I just have a question that's just curious more than anything else, is what is the difference between postage and neither? Why are there 2 lines?
Barb?
Because the meter is shared by the 3 or 4 departments, and we have to pay a fee for that.
Okay.
And then there's the actual postage that we have to pay, that is separate.
And this year I did combine it, so postage and meter are going to be one line moving forward.
Tim, you have a question?
is there a difference between department requested and commissioner requested when it's underneath the office of?
Commissioner?
Rarely.
Well, the reason why I ask is because there's 2 different amounts.
Yeah, the commissioners.
That means we've
Requested
already
less.
made cuts or additions to them.
Okay.
And Rob,
Well, first, I just had a question about a couple of line items, where the expended this year seems like way low, like is somebody not billing their mileage? In 4105.
Well, I mean, like Barb said, historically in the past, in years past, I was a lobbyist for the county for years. I attended, there's an organization, MCCA, Maine County Commissioners Association. Years ago, guys, it was a powerful force, and it's lost a lot of its wind, so therefore we don't actively attend any of, those meetings. So there's been a lot of meetings that we haven't had to participate, that because of Zoom, that it's made it a little more convenient.
I think now, like MCCA, this one's, every so many months that you have to be in person. Other than
Does that mean
so,
that the
you know,
mileage line
Right,
could come
right,
down?
because you get mileage for going to the meeting.
Right.
so we charge mileage. If we,
Right.
I've got a 55-mile round trip.
Right.
Oh my God, is it 55? I've been getting gypped.
No, it's 60.
Well, I live up on top of him.
Oh, whatever.
So would that come out of that budget?
Yes.
It might be hard to judge what new commissioners will be doing next year. I would take that into consideration, that they may come with
Doug?
interests or committees that they want to serve on. So I would just keep that in mind.
And a lot of, I mean, they probably have some background or some professional training that they come with, which certainly can help. So
I still.
Well, Doug had.
Well, but I
Oh,
said I
you
had
wanna
a
go
couple
on.
of lines
Oh
that
my
I wanted
God.
to do.
Go ahead.
But, and actually, I said the first thing I wanted to
Oh, okay.
ask about was a couple of lines. So I actually had 2 things that I wanted, but The other one was just the office supplies seemed like super low. 350 year to date and on a budget of 4,700, and last year we expended 5,400, like.
You're scrimping and pinching.
So
You sure are. You're like, but
So that's not, again, the current year expanded is not year to date, that's as of 8/15.
right,
And so I know that supplies have been purchased,
okay.
so it's
It
not
just seemed
350.
really low, right?
Right.
And we
like-
have been very conservative
Okay.
and mindful of what we are buying, what we have, do we need it? Your budget bind, I'll bring this up. We buy brand new budget binders. I said no.
Yeah, but you don't need them. Seriously, guys, do you care if it's a brand new?
No.
How many pens do you need in a year? Or pencils
And
or?
would you be willing to turn them back in at the end of the year?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, not me. I use mine in the town office.
I've heard that before.
Which is fine, but
Yeah. But so those were just, but the actual question that I had was 4722 liability insurance. Was that your question, Deb? Yeah. I don't understand, and maybe it's just that the descriptor is, it's definitely a carryover, but the descriptor says it's based on 15% above the previous year paid. But these numbers don't follow that at all. And so I'm curious because we've got 2 full previous years. We've got 2023. I went back to my last year book. And in 2023's, the actual for 2023 here is 41,062. Well, maybe I did that backwards. I've got, let me go back to this. Hold on. This is 1020. If you look at liability in 2020, the previous year, which actually is 2022. So 2022 actual was 41,062. And we budgeted for 2023 46.
No,
No, you have to look back at last year's sheet.
but it'd be 48, 537.
No, that's 2020.
That's what was
That's
expended versus budgeted.
Right, and it's gonna go
Yeah.
up, but it's gonna go up based off of the 15%. So
Um,
that's your actual.
The,
A best guess each year if we try to.
right.
Sometimes, yeah.
So the expended, what I'm looking at is the 20, what we have in last year's
42.
thing is
And if you times it,
2022 final.
if you times it by 15%, like they're
Right.
telling you in the thing, it gives you a number of 48,911.
And the budget for 2023 was 46. So that was very close,
so we're
right?
right.
But then, so then in 2023, our
Correct.
actual was the 48, which is very close to the budget. Right?
Right,
And the 15% of that is 7,280.55.
Which
Right.
comes up around
50,
55,
55,
right?
and now they're asking for 64. So.
Right, and even 55 to 64 is
55 times 15. Gets you up to 63,250.
okay.
So I'm following you.
It just doesn't,
Yeah,
doesn't seem like, you know, it-
Close.
What it is.
okay.
Close.
And so the year-to-date actual expended is, that's the premiums that we're paying, right? How many times a year are we paying, like how much of it does this represent, the 37,800 through
You're
August?
talking about like if there was like breakdown of 4 payments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So we get billed once in the spring, and then I believe in June, July, we owe another portion of it. And I have reached out to the agent to ask him what we're looking at for a price for this year. And unfortunately, he just can't give us a figure. He says it's too early. He goes, base it on the high end, which you're looking at 20 to 15%. And he already stated in that it could be more than a 15% increase.
oh, wow.
And we, yeah.
All insurance is
Wow.
gone up.
It is.
Which
That's
was-
the one place you can't do a thing about it.
Right, you
Right.
can't.
No, you can't.
So I guess my question would be, what Robin was saying is 64, this is a 64,803 gonna be enough?
I don't honestly know. I mean, we look at the numbers and I say, okay, this is what, we had last year. I'm gonna base it off 15%, which our agent is saying, base it on that. But just so you know, it could be more. I don't know, it could
Is-
be less.
Is there money in a reserve to pay for it if there is less?
No. Oh, you mean if it's more?
If it's more, sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I don't.
Well, I mean, we don't have a specific
Specific
reserve
reserve.
that says this is to bail your ass out, but I mean, we've got a reserve that at the end of the day, when it hits the fan and you need another 25-30,000 weeks.
Okay. So we feel pretty safe at that 64.
So far, their guesstimates have paid off well.
Okay.
I would.
Tammy has a question.
The one question is, because there's nothing we can do about that line.
No.
And Bob just said, shop it. Have you shopped it?
Me personally, no.
Have you guys tried?
What do you mean by shopping?
Well,
Trying
going,
different
trying
insurance
different
companies.
agency, just call to find out what they're looking at for prices, because sometimes that does work. As far as at least
I understand
keeping
what
it
you're
within
saying.
reason.
The counties, all but one, I think, are all part of this risk pool through the Maine County Commissioners Association.
Okay.
So.
Years ago, we couldn't get coverage
Right.
because of the county jails and the sheriff's department. And because the liability is so high, we had to self-fund and create what's called the risk pool.
Okay.
That's probably the most creative and clever and successful thing that counties have done. And do we shop around? Yes. Do we look at different angles of how to save money? Within the counties, within the jails, within the sheriff's departments, the structures, the vehicles, yes, every year. But that's an awesome, you've got a good point.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and every few years, you'll see a county go rogue and actually like go out in the real market to try to see what there is for insurance. And I can tell you of the 4 counties that have looked elsewhere, they've
I'll come back.
they've never left. They've literally said, whoa, hands down.
Okay.
Your sheriff's department, law enforcement, and a correctional facility will always be the highest risk. And
I just wanted to make sure that we.
No,
Because
no,
I
no,
didn't
no, I
understand. I didn't
appreciate
understand
that.
it until you just.
as I say, our liability is no different than our health insurance and how we scrutinize it every year.
I'm sure you do.
So
Is this increase due to inflation or is this due to increased liability exposure?
Both, sir, both.
What's the new exposure?
The lawsuits in which, because remember, as a risk pool, all 16 counties are in it, and we have Two Bridges Regional Jail, because Two Bridges Regional Jail is shared by 2 counties. So you're actually insuring 15 jails, not 16. We've seen an upchuck of lawsuits within our jails or our law enforcement. Not showing that there's not, I don't know, watch the news. It's positions that I certainly myself would never wish for or want. And it doesn't matter how many cameras or how many videos or how many witnesses or whatever. I mean, you're constantly, when a lawsuit comes up, you have to automatically assume 80 to 100,000 to begin to defend. So all you need is a few cases. And nowadays, it's horrible to say, but I mean, you're all in business, so you're aware of this. A lot of times you look at some of these suits that come along, and as a commissioner, you will become privy to information that you just go, what? You'll come across suits and situations that come along where you're just like, no. And it winds up being, it's cheaper to say, I'll give you 30,000. Let's just drop, let's end it.
cheaper to sell.
Very
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And this is what
Which is so unfair.
we have run into. It's horrible, it's unfair, it's the reality, it's the truth. And you can do everything in your power, and I'm proud to say in Waldo County, I mean, we have always gone above and beyond for our law enforcement and for our corrections.
Mhm.
Because as I said, I wouldn't do the job. And making sure that CYA.
Yep.
And,
So who makes a determination to settle or not to settle? Does the insurance company make that?
the risk
decision?
pool, so you have Maine County Commissioners Association, which Commissioner Johnson sits on. And the creation of the risk pool came out of that. And that started 21 years ago when jails couldn't get insurance. Sheriff's departments couldn't, so they scrambled and created that. I am one of the chairs of the risk pool. It's been an interesting endeavor. It really has. But to see Waldo County, our technology, remember a few years ago, Barb, we were hacked.
Yes, I was gonna
Yep.
speak to that.
We-
Another-
I remember that.
And it was just, guys, we just should laugh that the risk pool had said like 6 months before that, we're gonna get this technology insurance. I'm a technology idiot. I really am. I'm very intimidated by it. But I mean, they're talking about all this stuff and everything else. And at the end of the day, it was like, oh, thank God we had it.
Mhm.
And that has increased prices too.
Oh, gosh,
Whole
everything.
cybersecurity and.
We
all
offer
that.
special training for our deputies
Yeah.
to drive a cruiser. You'd think that the academy teaches them. Well, they do. But sometimes we all just need a little refresher. We have legal experts that go into the jail every year and give a lecture that might make some of your toes curl what's said, but it needs to be said.
Yes.
And it needs to be done. And all that aside, even though you can say, don't do this and don't do that, there are always the ones that do it or think it or. So the risk pool has probably been the most successful thing, but thank you for that comment, Doug, because we do. Every year we look to see, and we also have insurance with that.
Any further question, Mary?
Not a question. I would like to put out to the group a very modest amendment to the training education line.
Oh,
I'm very concerned
I was gonna do the
about
same thing.
2 new counselors coming on board. I'm all about training because it pays off in spades.
Certainly.
And I'm tightwad on a lot of things, but not on training. But I'm going to make a modest proposal. Very modest proposal. I would like to increase the $400 to $700.
So
You're better
adding
than me.
300, Mary?
I was gonna say bump it right back to where it was last year at 1,200.
I'm not willing to go there.
Okay, so we have a motion to bump it up to 700,
Second.
and we have a second. Any further discussion?
Can I just add to my contact? I reached right out, sent him an email. He was on the phone as regarding the Alphon grant. It is going to stay the same at $1,200 per employee for 2024 and 2025.
That makes me feel more comfortable about my modest increase of $700.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second.
I'm gonna call for a vote.
All in favor? All right. So we increased the commissioner's budget by $300 to $270,957.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Now, what have we had?
Now we have to
Now you're gonna
vote
vote on that.
We have to vote on
We
the.
have to vote on it now.
Oh,
Bottom line,
okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the Department 1020 Commissioner's budget to $270,957.
second,
Second that.
Right, motion and second. Any discussion?
Vote.
All in favor? All right. Record preservation, we've got nothing in there, right?
We're not preserving nothing.
Moving forward.
We don't actually have to vote on that, right? Or do we?
I mean, I suppose you can just for proper procedure, but
I think we should.
Probably should, yeah.
Okay, but
I
let
make
me,
a motion.
well, wait a second, I'd like to ask a question, if that's all right. So in the past, we've had small amounts in records preservation. We've talked about, you know, we had records stored at the jail and they got moldy or whatever. We've had this, we've had that. Why don't we need any money for any kind of records preservation?
In an effort to keep expenses down, there was a reserve account that has been being used at this point. And there is still, I think, about 900 left in that, about 900 left. And so it's not that preservation has stopped. We've just been utilizing that, and we're encouraging departments to digitize things as much as possible. And the way the world is going, most, they call it digital born records. Those are happening. So there is a shift
Emotion.
toward less paper.
Generational shift.
So,
That's on recording, right? Jason can hear us?
yes. I
Okay,
believe.
good. I hope Jason can hear that, so.
Tammy?
So on that, for that reason, is there, because I didn't see any kind of write-up about that. I mean, because I didn't know that you still had that, that you were still utilizing anything. Should you add that write-up so that the budget committee knows that you haven't stopped spending money on it, you just
Right.
don't have to budget for it.
And we talked about it a lot last year when you had,
Yeah.
you missed a meeting or two and
Yeah.
we had talked about it.
Can do that.
But just
yeah.
a little blurb,
Sure.
just to say we're still paying for it, just coming out of.
Yeah, good point.
But probably next year, there probably would be at least a small request to,
Continue.
out of the
Okay.
budget, yes, to maintain what
Okay.
has to be maintained.
So you started a motion. Robin,
Make a motion that we accept the recommendation of zero funding for records preservation 2040.
I'll second that with, well, I can't do it. with-
okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
I'd like to make an amendment to her motion
Give it a shot.
with the caveat that there is an explanation in the next year's budget of where the money came from.
Okay, although they are saying that probably the next year's budget will have.
Right, but
But for history.
But it's for history. That's all.
To
for-
memorialize.
So not so much-
That's a motion, so I need somebody to second kill it.
Well, can I ask for clarification of the motion?
She just answered your question. It's for documentation, basically, if we accept it as it is.
Right,
And
but
we're
the
not-
way you
we're not
said it
saying-
was, the motion was that next year would say where the money came from. Do you
Yes.
mean where this year's money came from, or do you mean?
Next year, when you guys are going over the packet, you're gonna wanna be able to look back and see where the money came from for digitization. We don't have that in here right now, that's what,
That it's been
Tammy's-
using for the fund, from the funds, right,
Right.
from the fund
Yeah.
balance.
so, it's just to have.
Okay, so now I'm getting a little confused. So we've got we've got two motions on the floor, I think, because yours was supposed to be an amendment and it
Yeah.
wasn't an amendment, was another motion. So let's go and take care of the first motion, which was to approve this at a zero budget. We had a motion and a second,
Right, which then leads to
and then we had the
discussion,
discussion.
and now I'm adding an amendment to that.
You didn't add an amendment, you added a motion, didn't you?
I did.
He did, he said he
Well-
wanted to amend with the caveat that there is an explanation of where the funding has been coming from.
Okay,
And that was
So-
like a friendly amendment.
Yes.
And
fine.
if
So-
the amender said, yes, I accept that, that's fine. That becomes your full motion.
Okay. Okay,
So the
So-
amender asked for clarification, because what exact wording do you want to have in there?
What I just told her.
What Barb just said. Barb, would you repeat that?
He wished to amend with the caveat that there is an explanation of where the funding has been coming from.
Okay, sure.
No, that's your full motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you still want to second it, Tim? It's second.
so we've got an amended motion and a second.
Well, now it's your original.
Now it's the actual motion, yeah.
It's the motion. Being the.
I'm gonna make it easy for you, I'm gonna call for a vote.
All in favor?
And for the record, Tim, currently there's $1,462.23 in the restricted reserve records preservation.
1,042 and how many cents?
Well, that's
1,000
minus $556 brings it roughly down to
Okay.
900, because we had a bill that just came out of there.
Oh, do we?
So
Yes.
All right.
It's that pile of boxes you see in my office.
900 or 500?
We just submitted, bill was just submitted for $556, which brings it down the balance in that reserve to roughly $900.
Oh, 900.
And last year, the balance was 7,800. So we're looking at probably 7,000 or so in next year's budget.
I don't know how to answer that at this
Well,
moment, but
The balance on October 4th, 2023 was 7,776.23. And it sounds like now you're saying the balance is gonna be down below 1,000.
Yes.
Funds
Right.
were used from that account this past year because some situations occurred which caused us to have to spend money from that reserve account, which why last year it was 7,000.
Right,
Expenses happened, and so we're now down to roughly $900 in that account.
right. So my question was,
What happened?
Were
with the
those-
6,000?
well, were those, you said these things that occurred, they're not unusual.
No,
Are
we
they-
go shelving
no.
and stuff like
right,
that.
Shelby, it was to put to place records. We've had to move where they are. We were able to take what we had and move it there. And I'm gonna we do need to shift gears, so stay tuned for next year. I don't
Well, I guess that's-
anticipate it being any more than that, certainly, probably less.
Okay.
They sold the county courthouse to the city of
No, I
Belfast,
understand.
and the
I know.
records restored.
Mary said we had to get our stuff out of the courthouse. We had to buy shelves and stuff because
Oh,
she
it's
kicked us
Mary's
out.
fault.
It was kind of more of an unusual,
Yeah.
non-recurring thing. You're not expecting that it's gonna be 6,000 or 7,000
No,
for records
not
preservation
expecting
next
that.
year.
Barring any other weird
Oh,
things. but-
Okay, can we put a nail on this?
Yeah.
You're really,
All right.
Several.
you guys have beat that long enough. Zero fun in the argument on it.
Okay. do we-
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, you can't win.
All right, do we continue on or do we
You
eat?
think, Nettie?
No, lunch is here.
Ooh.
Nettie had to leave. But I do believe that lunch is here and waiting for.
And right on time.
Those
as
in the
the
listening,
agenda states.
those in the office, in the audience, please. Join us for lunch.
Okay, so let's take a break for lunch.
Take care of it, just
What, I'm sorry, but what do they do? I mean,
Like the
their fuel company.
they are, that's.
So all the deputies, all the county employees that have a county issued vehicle have a fuel card.
Right,
Like state police or whatever, and they go to the fuel pumps and they use that card.
okay.
And then
Wex
Wex
is-
provides a bill to us, which when it comes into the sheriff's department, they go through and check off their vehicles. Then they send it to the comm center.
So it's the credit card company?
Yes, and it goes around all of them. Oh, no, they've been absolutely positively dreadful. It's gonna be another.
Well, as long as you're on top of it, it
Yes.
shouldn't be a problem. So,
hopefully not. And
Right.
yeah. My travel and meal line, you'll see that I haven't spent much. We established a new travel policy, which discusses in that policy that if you travel 30 minutes to work and you travel 30 minutes to a conference, you're not reimbursed for that time. So most of my trainings have been within that particular mileage frame, and anything over, I don't really submit anyways. And then it's water. We purchase water here at the office, so I don't figure water's a office supply. I figure it's best under my meal line. Equipment leases, that's our copiers that we have, maintenance leases. My printing and engraving is for envelopes, checks. My dues, I did decrease from last year to this year, as there's only a couple memberships that I pay for. My postage meter and postage have been combined. And office supplies, you'll see a reduction. I'm mindful of what I'm paying for, what I need. In my training, I increased as I'm still working on my certificate to become a certified treasurer. And so there's additional trainings this coming year that I'd like to take. And my capital outlay is just for the NDS software. And that full cost is shared with the jail.
And the NDS software is an annual fee?
Yes.
And how come that's a capital outlay
It's
and not an
just-
expense?
It's just where it's been placed and I haven't taken it out of
Okay,
and put it in a different line.
because you don't capitalize that.
No.
Yeah, so, okay. Any questions from the committee? Any motions?
I had a question.
Sure.
Do you use Trio for the county?
No, it's NDS, Northern Data Systems.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept Department 1025 for finance at the requested amount of $82,489.37.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes.
Do you really need the water?
Come on, Tim.
Yes, I do.
I waited till after we voted on it.
There was an article just this week in the Bangor Daily, something about, how bottled water, we should get rid of it. I didn't read the article, so I can't say anything.
Okay. 1090.
1090 is our audit.
So you changed auditors?
Yes, so I am happy to say that we have secured an auditor. After probably reaching out to 30+ auditors. And one giving us a quote, we went with one that gave us a quote. They are working on 21, 22, and 23.
Oh, wow.
Yes. 23 will carry over into next year. I have not heard the status of 21 and 22. I did ask them if they would also do our 24 audit, and they sent a contract, which I have not signed yet, and they had said they will do that as well. They gave us a quote. They said in the quote that it should not go over the full $13,500. Yes, I did say $13,500, and that is for county and jail.
Expensive. That's still an expensive.
It is.
And I'm fortunate and I'm holding my breath with that. And again, that 13,005 is split up between county and jail. So a portion is in the county side, a portion is on the jail side, which you'll see in 1050.
Oh, okay. So my town uses HR Smith.
Yes.
I don't know, anybody
Smith
else?
too.
Who did too? Whether I'm happy or not.
Who was it?
HR Smith.
Yeah, we did too.
They're pretty good. They're a pretty good company that, we just got our 2023 audit the other day, which I wasn't too happy about, but they've had changes of personnel and, how every business is, so, good.
I think they have a lot of, when researching auditors, it looks like RHR is taking over a lot of municipalities, and they only have a handful of counties right now. But the owner of RHR is also working with the state to kind of help with this audit. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a decrease in auditors.
Audit. Yeah, no, it's not a deficiency. It's a deficiency in auditors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, right now, I know even when I was working at Edward Spouse, they were just shorthanded. They couldn't find people. And right now, the average age of an accountant, CPA, is 75 years old. Because
Wow.
people aren't coming into it, but
Staff was, when talking to a lot of the companies, staffing was a big comment back to me, but then I think I scared them by saying, hey, we need all of this and we also need a single audit. So I think our demand was more than what they really
Single
wanted
audits
to
are
take on.
tough.
Well, you figure any of the ARPA money,
Yeah.
you know, also had to be separately audited. So,
Absolutely.
And thank you, Amy. ARPA paid for 21, 22. And then I did have funds that were raised last year that paid for some of the ARPA as well.
Any questions?
It's a good price.
Yeah,
That is.
I'm impressed with it, honestly.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept Department 1090 for auditing at the amount of 8,100.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? Hey. Debt service.
I am not asking anything for any debt.
I make a motion that.
We have no debt.
But you don't count the 10 instead.
That's a separate line.
It's a separate line. It's not a building, damn it.
Okay,
No debt.
I'm just making sure that the
Don't get me
public
emotional.
understands.
You're lucky she doesn't have a yardstick.
That's right.
I'm used to it. All right, so we have a motion. Did you make a motion, Tim?
Well, I don't think you need to because there's no debt.
Well, but
You were
we
gonna-
voted
I
before
was-
the records preservation too.
Okay.
Show
whatever,
that
bro.
we.
Go ahead, make your motion then.
Pending amendment from Tim.
I didn't make.
I make a motion. No, that's going back to the other. I move that we accept the recommendation from the commissioners of $0 budget for debt service.
I'll second it.
The motion and second, any
For
discussion?
discussion, right?
All in favor? Good, we got Tim out of here.
No.
Just even.
Oh, I was a miserable asshole last year.
2,000 interest.
What did you say to unnecessary?
He said he was a handful last. A miserable handful. A miserable handful.
All right, 2,000 interest, Gary.
So I did reach out to First National Bank to see if they would give me a interest rate for an anticipated loan for next year. Yes, they did. And so I have said quote, and this is what we're at. And the interest rate currently is 5.86%. Yes, 5.86%.
And on how much debt?
So that total is 355,506.67.
Oh, which is split between the cities.
It's split between the county and the jail. Last year, the 309 was for county and jail. This year, I split it out so that a portion hits the county side, a portion hits the jail side.
Yeah.
I will also add that the gentleman that gave me the quote did say that if we give him the opportunity to bid, that 5.86% will hold if interest rates go up. But if interest rates go down, that price will go down.
Oh, cool.
And what was the interest rate for 24?
5.18.
That's not bad.
It's interesting, they're going up though, or the feds just.
So at the time that I asked for this quote, interest rates were staying.
There wasn't a change.
There wasn't a,
I thought when you said you asked them, it was like very recent, but it was more back in September. Got
it
It
was,
is dated.
July, wouldn't it be?
yes, July 9th,
Oh.
I asked for the quote
Please.
when we were talking about budget. We were
Right.
working on budgets. So back in July, I asked. So I think interest rates are starting to, so I'm hopeful that it will go down a little bit.
But just to make you feel warm and fuzzy about how this world is going, I have all my old budgets right here next to me. And in 2023, you needed 18,000
Yeah,
to pay
We
back your
remember,
interest.
we remember. from last year.
And then it went to 309.
Yes.
I mean, it's just,
which we were happy about because your initial worry was 500 or
365.
something. It was way higher. Yes.
So-
I'll make a motion that
Well-
we accept.
Oh, Mary was.
I'll wait for
sorry, Mary.
discussion.
Sorry.
I'll wait for discussion.
No, go ahead. I can wait.
Go ahead.
So in our current calendar, we set up at our first meeting for this year. We established Wednesday night, November
16.
16th as our public hearing.
No,
No, the
No,
6th.
November 6th.
That's what I thought, 6th,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
Not the next meeting, but the public hearing final. How far in advance of that, how many days in advance of that do we need to have the final number paperwork? Is it the 2 weeks to get it to the newspaper?
Yes, but we also have to send it to municipalities too. So those
So
numbers.
when
need
do you
be
have to
fined.
do that?
So
What
are
do you
you
think?
talking
Your
about,
the next meeting before that is October 26th. And
Yes,
so hopefully all your decisions would be made by then. That gives the office time to get numbers crunched and prints. And I have to, we can send them electronically to the towns now, so that saves some
Yeah.
time and postage.
okay.
Yes,
The
the
reason I'm
paper is 2
asking
weeks.
is, we think that between now and then, there is going to be one further decrease from the feds. We don't know if it's gonna be 25 or 50, but there's gonna be one more.
good
Yeah.
point.
And that, it takes a while for that to sift through to the banks. It's not gonna be long enough to really sift through where we want it to be. But I want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date number, maybe another discussion with the banker, like 25th of October, before we have that last meeting on the 26th, that we have the most current. It won't be the best, 12/30/24, there may be a better number, but we will have already had the public vote and everything.
okay, so let me just make sure that maybe I can state it in a motion, so
Please.
what you're trying to do is state a motion that we accept this, that at
This interest number, yeah.
interest number at, I guess, at least for the county part at 231,079.34, pending a final approval by the bank on the 25th of October.
Quote, not approval,
Quote.
quote.
Yeah.
so.
Or
we
subject
have-
to change.
Subject to change.
So I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah.
And I'll need your assistance, Barb. So we have to give figures to paper and municipalities. However, at the public meeting, the budget committee can choose to vote for a different number.
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so
So
that's,
could
it's
I-
not-
Carved in
okay,
stone.
that's when I really want to have the number that's.
Okay,
tightest
so-
it can be.
I could get the quote to you the day of the public hearing
That
and
would be
say this
fabulous.
is the most
Yeah, that
recent
would be
quote that I have.
fabulous.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
So-
Good.
Let's
Let's
restate the
restate your
motion to accept this as written.
Yes.
Who made
Second?
that?
Second.
Yes, who made that motion? I'm sorry.
I did.
Thank you.
All in favor, any discussion? All in favor? All right.
I'm sorry, who seconded it? I heard a few
I did.
voices. Thank you.
Okay, reserves, 2045.
I'm not asking for anything for reserves.
Do we have an updated, could we just get emailed an updated?
I can email you an updated reserve.
Thanks.
I make a motion that we accept the Department 2045 for reserves at nothing, at zero.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? All right. So that, I think that concludes everything we were trying to do today. Our next scheduled meeting is October 16th at 6 to 9. And in that time, which departments are we gonna cover, Barb?
I left that on my desk. I'll be right back.
I have it, I have it.
Facilities, no, I'm sorry.
Probate, feeds, and the comm center.
Okay,
The next meeting.
you can,
Just a heads up, I won't be here because I have to go pick up my daughter in Bradford, so.
okay. Thank you, Tim. Can I ask that we get the most current financial statements for those budget centers before our meeting. So you can email it to all of us so that we can come and take a look at, okay, I'm assuming they'd be through September.
Yeah, you guys don't have the year-to-dates in front of you?
Yeah,
No.
but they're from August or something.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean,
Oh,
like,
No,
we don't.
Amy, no.
no, they
we don't
no,
have
never
them at
mind.
all.
No,
I will make sure that they are prepared and out here, or do you want me to email? it
It'd
to
be
you?
nice to have them.
Yeah.
And then we can look through, but it's just for the budget centers that we're gonna discuss.
Sure.
On
do
Wednesday.
you want them emailed to you ahead of time, or do you want hard copies, or do you want both?
Both.
Both. Emailed and hard copies.
Oh, my God.
No,
Okay,
she's got questions.
So what I email you will be the same that I present
Yes, yes,
to you
yes.
in person. I will not be here on the 16th, but I will be available via Zoom.
Okay.
But I will make sure that you have those documents and that they are emailed to you as well. And I will make sure that I do that next week.
okay, thank you.
And
Now-
just to be clear, so that our numbers are correct. Because I like to count numbers and whatever. I see my total of cuts today was $7,742.
Cuts, you're not cutting.
Where-
I mean,
Cut.
additions.
7,000?
7,000.
Yep, I had, for the extension, you guys increased it by 6,522.
Oh, we did? Yeah.
With the commissioners, you
Extended.
increased it by 300. By EMA, you increased it by 870 and then an additional 50. Came to a total of $7,742, which makes the current budget as of right now increase to $8,936,751. Is that the same numbers you have?
No, but we'll take your word for it. I did not factor in Waldo, the.
Okay, the extension.
The extension.
Did you say that number again?
$8,936,751.
Okay. Before we adjourn, let me just ask the committee, do you have any questions or any concerns that you want to address before our next meeting?
It's nice to see that you're more of a Spitfire this year.
Who?
All right. There being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Appreciate you all. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.